What's up, folks? Welcome to Ichabod. I am your host, Be Good, and we are getting ready to do the call-in show. So come on into the chat. I see Satan's little helper in the chat already. What's going on? Good to see you. I'll be posting the link for you guys to call in, and as we get ready to get started, let me go ahead and post it to Facebook and Instagram now, so y'all can meet me on the channel and we can do the do. Now y'all gotta let me know if stuff is live on Instagram. Let me see. It says I'm live on Instagram. It says I'm live on Facebook. So I just posted the link in the chat on YouTube for people to call in. Let me see if this is telling me the truth today or not, because it says I'm live on Facebook. But when I go to Facebook, what do I see? I don't see it. Is this going to do the same thing it did last time where it's not letting me do the live? Let me try to do it on my desktop, see what happens. What's up, folks? Come on into the chat. Say what's happening. I see it on Facebook. Let me post a comment here. Call in link. All right, so can I pin this? I got to pin it from my phone, so give me a second. If you're in the chat, I'll be back in a sec. I'm just trying to make sure that I get everybody straight. If you're on Instagram, you should be able to go to my bio and see the link in my bio to call in. But I need the app. All right, let me see. How do I pin this comment? Thank you, my unique Monique says Facebook is working. Appreciate that. Maurice says, I see it. Okay, cool. So I guess what happened last time was because I scheduled it for later in the day, I wasn't able to actually get the lives popping when it was time to do it. But because I did not schedule it this time, it went right on to the live. If anybody is able to go on Instagram and let me know if it's live on Instagram too, because StreamYard is saying it's there, but you know how these things go. On Instagram is PHANOTIK, Fanatic, PHANOTIK. So yeah, I told folks on Facebook this morning. Yesterday was one of the worst days on earth for me, and I'll get into why that is. It started off as one of the best days because a friend of mine texted me and said, "Yo, I just came from the Hieroglyphics concert last night." He didn't even know that Hieroglyphics was one of my favorite rap groups, rap conglomerates of all time. And so when he texted me, I was like, "Oh man, I'm jealous." I was like, by the end of this year, I'm going to get to see them. He was like, "Well, you better move quick. They're in your city tonight." I was like, "What?" So I went online, copped 2 tickets to get ready to go to the show. And thus began the longest night of my life. So I'll say more about that in a little while. But in the meantime, yes, come on into the chat as we get ready to talk about some things and take some calls. I do want to give a shout out to all of the Patreon supporters, day ones and day 1001s. If your name is on the screen, your name is in my heart. Appreciate y'all. Words cannot express you rocking with the channel. What is this? Who am I? My name is Brady, aka Be Good. Some people knew me as Fanatic. I now go by Fanatic on social media, or Be Good. But yeah, I was I would say bona fide Jesus worshiper. People want to say you weren't a real Christian. Well, you can't tell me I wasn't a Jesus worshiper. If you want to take away the Christian title from me, you can't take away what I spent 30 years of my life doing, which is bowing my heart down to the person that I met. How did I meet this Jesus? I met Jesus through the Bible. I met Jesus through the preached word, as Christians say, the gospel. I met him in the experience of submitting my mind, my thoughts, my heart, my will, my ways, my language, the way I dressed, who I associated with, what I thought was right, what I thought was wrong, my passions, my pursuits, what I delighted in. All of that was submitted to the person of Jesus Christ as laid out in the Bible, as met in Christian experience. When I went to church on Sundays and when I left church, I believed I was walking with and talking with and had a relationship with the God of the Bible, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. When I latched on to the gospel message, I thought it was the best news ever. So then how in the world am I titling this episode, this call-in show, The Gospel is Not Good News? And I will submit this to you, that the gospel of Jesus Christ is some of the worst news ever. Because even if we can be saved by it, what is it actually saying about the person who's saving us if this person cannot have been satisfied for whatever the infractions were? This person cannot have been satisfied without the shedding of blood. Is that really good news? If I said to you, yo, there's a dude knocking at your door, he will come in and he will eliminate everybody in your house unless y'all believe he's good and you've done him wrong. If you don't believe that he's going to come in and eliminate everybody in your house, but if you believe that, if you believe everybody in your house is evil, but he's good, then he won't eliminate y'all. Matter of fact, he'll buy y'all a brand new house and get y'all to go live with him in this brand new house because he loves you. But if you don't believe that he's good and you're bad, then he's not going to invite you to come stay in this new house with him. He's going to eliminate everybody in your house, then demolish your house. Didn't I just give you good news? You might be like, well, I gave you good news. I told you, yes, I had to give you bad news first, that he would eliminate y'all, but I gave you good news that he won't do that if you just believe the story he's telling. Is that really good news that this person is going to eliminate? Not he's going to knock at your door and spend the kind of time that it takes to convince you that he's so good and you're so bad and you've done him wrong, and he's not going to convince you. You just got to believe that. And he may throw out some analogies, some things to kind of smooth over the idea that you're bad. But he's not really going to do what it takes to convince you that this is true. You just have to believe it. And if you do, hey, he's not going to eliminate you and he'll bring you into his new home. Did I give you good news? Or did I just tell you that somebody psychopathic is at your door and he's going to do some things to you that by all accounts would seem very unfair, but if you just believe these things he's saying, then he will. Is that really good news? I am submitting to you that the gospel of Jesus Christ tells you horrible things about who the Christians want you to believe is your maker. Your maker is, in Christian parlance, your maker is so holy that he can't rock with you and your sinfulness. But really, he's so petty. It's not just that he's holy, he's petty. The way Christians, when I was a Christian, the way we used to tell the story is God has like an allergic reaction to sin. If you bring sin anywhere near him, just like with me, I'm allergic to tree nuts, right? You get tree nuts near me, and if I taste it, I'm going to have a react. God is so holy. He's going to react to your sin. And his react, I remember being at Christian rap concerts where we would preach this. God is so holy that he will have a violent reaction to your sinfulness because of his holiness. You mean to tell me that God is so dysregulated that the sinner even gets around him? God can't even contain himself. He has to like Hulk smash sin. God is so volatile. Like, think about chemical compounds that you can't mix these two, because if these two mix, poof. Like, God is so volatile. He's so uncontrollable that if sin gets anywhere near him, he just has to react violently. You go spend eternity with that kind of a person. Those are other reasons why the gospel is just not good news to me. Because think about this. Let's say you believe the gospel and you're saved, and you perish in this life, or you die of old age, or whatever it is, and you go on to, as the Bible says, absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. You go to be with the Lord. And the eschaton comes, and who knows whether you're in the new heaven or the new earth, or however you think is going to work out. You're chilling. And you're chilling forever. At his right hand, the Bible says, are pleasures forevermore. You're there chilling with God forever and ever and ever and ever, forever, ever, forever, ever, forever, ever, and ever, ever, and ever, ever, ever. As many evers as you could add on to that, you're there chilling with God forever. And as long as you're there chilling with God, for as many evers as you could add forevers forever. That's how long you'll be there. And all that time, there will be, as many people as are in heaven, there will be almost an infinite amount of people more than that in hell, because the Bible says straight is the way that leads into life, and few there be that find it, but wide is the way that leads into death or destruction. And many people, so many, 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 many more people will be in hell. And guess how long? Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But God will save you if you believe. And as long as you're there, forever and ever, many someones, as long as you're there in heaven, chilling and enjoying and relishing and all it, as long as you're there enjoying that, there will be countless people suffering and being tortured. And God will be pleased with that state of affairs forever. For every smile you smile, someone will be languishing, tormented forever. Is that good news? That this was God's idea of, let's just give the Bible the benefit of the doubt and say it's true. Let's say Genesis is the reason why it's all effed up the way it is, because God's first two creatures disobeyed him. And yet he warned them, he told them, if the day you eat of this tree, you'll surely. And then let's say that the evangelicals are right. It wasn't just a physical death, it was a spiritual death, even though the text doesn't say that. There's a spiritual death, and they invited spiritual death into the world, that God is the one who set this up, knowing that many, many more people would be lost than would be saved. Even if you're one of the ones who are saved, I want to ask you, is that really good news? When I was a preacher, I used to give the analogy. I used to say, when I understood the gospel, like at first it was just news, Jesus died for my sins. When I understood that I was a sinner and that I deserved hell, then it wasn't just news, it was good news. And I would say, like, I would give the analogy, if you told me, hey, this man here, he carried my mother out of the house, I would be like, so? Like, is he a kidnapper? Like, that's not good news. If you say the house was on fire, you're like, oh, he's a hero. He carried your mother out of a burning house. That's how I would try to get people to realize the goodness of the gospel. The house was on fire, and Jesus carried us out. But I was leaving out parts of the story when I would tell it that way, because it's not just that he carried us out of the burning house. It's that he's the one who set the house on fire in the first place. Who came up with the idea that eternal death would be the just punishment for sin? Like, he did not have to make that the punishment for sin. So the fact that a God would make that the punishment for sin and then save us from that, you didn't really do us any favors. You could have cut out the middleman and just not made death the punishment for sin. You could have done like the Catholics, say 10 Hail Marys, 3 Our Father. Like, you could have made the punishment for sin anything. So the fact that you made it hell or eternal death or however you want to, why am I thanking you for saving me from something that you did not have to do? You did not have to make that the punishment for sin. The gospel is not good news. It's only good news if you don't think about what it's asking you to believe. The gospel of Jesus Christ is nonsense. It's silly. It's a solution in search of a problem. So you're just talking. Isn't this a call-in show? Yes, it's a call-in show. If you are a Christian or a theist, or you're somewhere in the Christian vicinity and you think the gospel is good news and you'd like to call in and represent that, please call in. Just so you know, I am not the type to try to embarrass anyone. I'm not going to be cursing people out. I'm not an angry atheist. I want to talk about why you think this is believable. And I would like to express to you why I think it's not. And we're going to reason together as reasonably as we can. And we'll take it from there. I'm not going to say everything right. I don't expect you to say everything right. If you say something that's not correct, I'm not going to clown you. Hope you wouldn't clown me. Let's give each other some grace. As a Christian, you should be good at doing that. But I do have a caller who just popped in. So I'm going to get this call. Just call it just so you know your name and image is visible. If you want to change any of that, take a minute to do that. Some people don't want their name or their face shown. That's perfectly fine. Also, if you are, somebody said, have I added, or Mythos Boy said, have I added the link? Yes, the link is up top in the chat, but it's also here again. I just posted it in the chat. If you're on Facebook, the link is one of the top comments. Oh, I didn't pin it. I'm supposed to pin it on Facebook. Give me 1 second to do that real quick, y'all. Oh, no, I did pin it. So, yeah, on Facebook, the link is pinned in my top comments. On Instagram, go to my bio, click the link in the bio. But I'm going to bring in, what is the name? It says Lessex Bishop. I had another bishop. I had 2 bishops. I had a father last week and a bishop. And this person is Lessex Bishop. Let's see what's going on here. Welcome to
Grace and Peace. Grace and Peace.
Grace and Peace. So I don't even got to ask you. That's believer talk. I was going to ask you, are you a theist? Are you a believer? But if you're saying grace and peace, then I already know. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know who you are. I know.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I shaved and everything. Bishop Bashar online, Bishop Les, you know what I'm saying? It's all good.
Okay. So, hey, I think we maybe have talked once since I deconverted, or no?
You know, we never really got to talk face to face or on the phone, voice to voice. It's always been like
just
maybe
Facebook
a message
stuff, right?
Here and there, or in the Facebook. Yeah, right.
Now, I'm going to try to recall where you are with things, but then I'll let you correct me and clear up any misconception. Are you 5%? Where are you at with the God topic? Because I think I've heard you express.
So yeah, so at the age of 15, I gained knowledge of self. Okay, so that's the nations of gods and earths, the 5%. So basically 85% are blind, deaf, and dumb. The 10% are the devils that control them, basically. And then the 5% are those that are aware of it. You feel me?
Okay.
And so to continue, at 17, when I had the near-death experience, that's when I heard, I saved you for a purpose. So at that point, being 17, not really knowing too much about different religions, so I related to that voice, that most high voice being like Jesus or something like that. You follow?
Okay. Now I'm going to slow walk this just a little bit, only because even though this is a call-in show, and for those who are watching, I had a few experiences last week that made me say, okay, from now on, I'm not going to allow people to just linger and, just pontificate. We're going to get right to it. But this is somebody who I've been. No. I'm saying this for the people who are watching. I'm saying that to say this. Even though I made a decision last week, I'm going to get people to just kind of get right to the crux of it all. With you, I do want to belabor the point a little bit because we have a history, and I want to better understand where you're coming from. So I'm going to allow you to kind of give us a little more depth than I'm going to allow most callers because I'm interested in your story.
So let's jump right into it then. So during that time, getting saved, this and that, cross movement. When did y'all first come out? What was that?
Our first album came out in 97-ish.
House of Representatives, right?
No, Heaven's Mentality.
No, Heaven's Mentality.
Yeah, that was 97, and then House of Reps was 98.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So bam. So right then, 1797 came across y'all, and y'all were saying stuff that I was like, okay, let me look more into it and this and that. So to speed it up.
So we were directly challenging the 5% ideology in those lines. So did that stand out to you at the time?
It did. And I was understanding, and then at that point I was overstanding. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I saw where both was coming from, and then I went with my understanding on how I really felt on what you were saying and what they were saying, which will come out later in a minute.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
So then going through that, getting baptized in the Holy Spirit with the evidence of speaking in tongues, and this is where I seen the split between us at this point, because y'all wasn't really really up on that.
Yeah.
And so
now, some of us were in our latter days, like I came up in a church where all that was going on. I had spoken in tongues and all that, but by the time Cross Movement became national recording artists, I don't think anybody in the crew was practicing that stuff at that point. So yeah.
Right. So basically, seeing the legalistic side of it really was something like I was starting to kind of like notice, versus like another type of what they would say like a spiritual side of it. But even that was not even in balance. You follow me? People took that and went with it and thought they were super spiritual, doing all types of extra stuff. You follow? But anyways, so then when it came to the gospel and just hearing, the good news, and the way that y'all was bringing it in the mainstream, and the way that I was up in the stream too, because I went to Bible school, then after that, became a Black Hebrew Israelite. So started understanding.
Oh, wow. You went around the whole gambit of this thing.
Oh my gosh. I went, so I say I'm 33, right? But I'm really 46. So, I had a lot of time to really, be in the mix of it all, and the good news, so now we're dealing with doctrine now. Okay. So the leaven, the leaven, Jesus warned about the leaven. And so when it comes to the doctrines and the traditions and the dogmas, this is where I found out that it was a trap within inside of a trap. So while y'all think, or while we think we the right ones within this trap because we got Jesus, we done got trapped by the Jesus. So now everybody's in the trap, not realizing that, because we figured out some things that maybe this one don't know, or this one has incorrect, or they bring enough evidence, not fact, but enough evidence to like prove their point on a topic. Like you were talking about hell, right? If we were to pivot to hell real quick, one of the things, this guy came with 23 minutes in hell, and he gave all these scriptures about being in hell and this and that. And then when I started looking into the Hebrew, and hell, Sheol, grave.
Mhm.
And then I started looking into, even the New Testament, hell, Gehenna, being the burning place outside, and realized like Hades was Greek mythology. And it's just like, whoa, hold up.
Okay.
Hold up. So y'all caught me with the English language too now. Because when you don't understand where the root was, or even the etymology of the word, or things like that, then you get caught in a word trap.
All right. So with all of your, because you're not just like stumbling, like you're searching, you're seeking, you want to know what's true.
Well, honestly, to stop you right there, the searching and seeking is done. It's over. It's a wrap.
Because you found what's true, or you just stopped thinking in those terms?
I would say that I found what is true.
Okay.
I would say I found what is true, and I have enough fact to back that, because me just believing in something had me, oh my gosh, see, believing and knowing, and I'm sure you heard this before, but just to reiterate for those that maybe haven't heard this before, I used to be a believer, but now I'm a knower. See, a believer doesn't know. And when you don't know, then there's doubt. And see, I couldn't struggle anymore with doubt, because I couldn't figure it out. And I would sit there and try to just figure things out. And certain things, it's just like, you know what? If I can't get no facts with that, I'll just put that right here and we'll revisit that.
So Les, up until now, everything you're saying, I'm like, I don't know why we would ever disagree, because everything you said, I'm like, yo, facts, I'm with that. Like, and part of my deconstruction and deconversion process was growing in my critical thinking and embracing skepticism as one of the most healthy tools, not cynicism per se, just skepticism, and wanting to, I'm going to add a little nuance to what you just said in terms of knowing versus believing. Even what we know, what we think we know, is very subjective. We can only know based on what enters into our minds through our five senses. And then we use our rational powers to try to make sense of that. And then I think we look for third party consensus.
Give an example of that.
So for instance,
someone don't know.
Say again.
Go ahead.
So for instance, the hoodie that I'm wearing right now, right?
Yeah.
I believe that it's black. If I asked you what color my hoodie was and you told me it was green, then I asked 3 more people and they said it was green too, I might believe that my hoodie is green. I might even feel like I know it because of what's happening in terms of what my eyes are doing, looking at the color and all that. But if you all see something or perceive something and think you not just believe, but know something different, I have reason to question, do I have knowledge? But what I'm doing is, my theory of knowledge is it's going to be experiential. But then I give you and me and everybody else, I give us the benefit of the doubt that we have common senses. And so if we have common senses, but one of us is experiencing something uncommon, I'm seeing black, but you all are seeing green, I've got to work with that and think about, okay, do I just believe this? And why do I believe this is green? And can I really call it knowledge? Knowledge has been talked about as justified true belief. So even knowledge does not get away from belief. We've just got to the point where we said knowledge is justified true belief, and embedded in that is I have good reason to think that what I believe is the actual fact. And so there's really going to be a subjectivity to it.
I hear what you're saying, and that can come across confusing. So the way that I was able to distinguish that, so I wouldn't go back and forth like that, is when you deal with knowledge, you deal with like the information. Okay. So whatever information that you're dealing with has certain type of boundaries or rules to it. You know what I'm saying? Like the context, you follow? The context. So that would be like the rule for the information. So the knowledge for the information would be something that, like you say, could be subjective or objective based upon, if it's agreed upon, you know what I'm saying, or not. So when you move into like the knowing, this is more into like And I'm not even gonna bring it up because I don't even want to get into no type of fight. But
That's
when
why
you
we're
get
here.
this when you get this gut feeling right here, okay. Now, most people have gotten it here and there. Most people can be aware, and then some people are in tune to it. You know what I'm talking about? The gut feel, like
I
the
mean,
intuition.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to give it more credit than I think it deserves, but I also don't want to give it less credit. I do think there's a sense in which intuition
You,
is
go ahead.
intuition is the sense that I know, but it's still a sense, which makes it subjective.
Now that know that you know, and I'm glad that you said it like that, because that's the difference between the know. It's a know that you know. See, that was the voice that I heard in the crash that said, I saved you for a purpose. Realizing that purpose was really to make a living, to live and experience life. But it took me a while to figure that out, even to ask my wife. But anyways, the point is the knowing, the knowing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Do you think it's?
for
Can I ask
example,
real quick to get clarity before you get the example and tie this into your example? Do you think it's
Right.
possible for someone to know that they know and yet be wrong?
that would just be the no. That would be that part. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be just like you knew, you thought, you think, I knew, I believed. You know what I'm saying? You moving in that type of zone, this and that. But something that's a scientific fact. You know what I'm saying? Like if I were to take this and I would have just keep on going like this and I would have keep on going like this, we know that it's going to continue to go down. Now, is there a possibility that, you know what I'm saying, that maybe quote unquote gravity will flip itself up and pull the phone up? Hey, right. All things are possible, right? But I'm not trying to do possible. I'm trying to do probable. What's probably, what's factually, not
No,
the
but see,
evidence
but
that. Go ahead.
even in that though, even in that, like what's probable, what you're talking about is called the problem of inductive reasoning, right? Inductive reasoning is based off of umpteen thousand cases in the past. I have good reason to believe that the umpteen thousand and one time that I do this, the same thing's going to happen. But I don't know that it will happen because, like you said, who knows whether or not the laws of physics will reverse themselves
Right.
a minute from now? But
But see,
I
that's the
have good
part.
reason to believe.
But see, that's the part where you gotta watch. Where I watch out for now. Okay, I watch out for now because there's always that that they say that 99.99%, you know what I'm saying? It's not really that 100% on the label, you know what I'm saying? They can't really do that, it's something like you fall into like that type of trap. And I'm like, it's over for that because at the end of the day, I know it's going to fall. I know it's going to fall, you know what I'm saying? And so we're going to play ball like that. Like it's going to fall. It's going to fall. So we all agree upon that. And that becomes more fact with the evidence. That's the science. So you do the
Well, but
science.
I don't have any issue with that at all. So now that we got sort of some working definitions or seeing how we're looking at epistemology, so now I'll move to, okay,
The
so
good
now
news.
when it comes the good news or the things that you got, whether it be from 5% or whether it be from Christianity or religious books or whatever, do you think you've got to the point where you know that you know the truth about any of those things? And if so, what do you believe you know that you know about any of the religious claims that you've ever embraced?
Okay, so here's what I know that I know when it comes to the Bible, yo.
Mhm.
It was put together by man. Okay. We know that, we know that, we know that. Now, when you start to deal with the facts of like where these writings came from, now you start to backtrack, like re-engineer this thing and start to get to the scheme.
Mhm.
And so the scheme always comes back to empire. It always comes back to control. That's why it came back to the temple. And so when you have the prophets, when you have the Bible, when you have all the stories throughout all the cultures, there always seems to be like a vulture, like a devil. So when one takes that literal and when one takes that figurative and one is able to integrate both of them, it becomes a whole different type of reality. It's not superstitious. It's not like there's a like Jesus is coming on the cloud, you know, like it says in Matthew 24. Like, really? Like, that part got me. I thought that there really was going to be a beam me up Scotty rapture and I'm up out of here.
So if it's not literal, then what is it?
I really believe that.
Many of us did, and some people still do. But if it's not literal, then what is it?
So here we go. So now it goes with the context so we can get the proper interpretation of what really is going on in the story. So
here's what I'm going to, here's what my position is going to be, that if it is not literal, then it's anybody's guess as to what the proper meaning of it will be. Either it's literal or it's up for grabs.
Well, it's not necessarily like that. And I'm gonna show you how it's not. I'm gonna show you how it's not like, and you know, well, I'm gonna remind you because it's in there, because, and I'm not even talking like first law of mention and stuff like that, you know, what they try to add to.
Yep.
I'm talking about actually what you see the prophets do. Okay. And this is what you see the prophets do. Real quick example. In Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 6, it says, "How ye, for the day of the Lord is destruction from the Almighty." The day of the Lord. You follow? Now, when you get to verse 10, it talks about how the sun, moon, and stars will be darkened and fall. You follow?
So far, yeah.
You know how it says the sun will be darkened, the moon will be darkened, and the stars, and they will fall? Okay. So this happened. Okay. So in the way that you know it happened is because in Isaiah chapter 13, verse 1, it's a prophecy to Babylon about the destruction when the Medo-Persians would come in and destroy. And this would lead into the building of the second temple, which is the whole other scheme, which we'll get to maybe another time. But the point is that when it came to, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. Where were we at?
Well, somebody in the comments, I just saw somebody in the comments said they're lost too. But I think you're talking about Isaiah 13. You're talking about what?
This. So now, thank you. So literal and figurative, right? It's really apocalyptic language. So when Isaiah is talking about the sun, moon, and stars falling, the day of the Lord, it's destruction. So when you move to Matthew chapter 24, once the second temple is established, this is talking about now the sun, moon, and stars being darkened and fallen, the temple being destroyed. And that's what happened. But see, when you get into doctrine and dogma, it's like, no. We're still waiting for something to happen. We're still waiting for the return of Jesus, just like the Messiah. It's just like the Jewish people are waiting for the return of the Messiah. See, that's the script. That's the
right,
wheel.
But so Isaiah was saying Matthew 24 was not talking about literal sun, moon, and stars falling, but it was answering a literal question of when will these things happen, right? They asked Jesus, when will these things be? He started going into all these things and he's given them apocalyptic language. And then he says to them, and before this generation passes away, or this generation will not pass away until these things come to pass. So you're saying that, I guess my question to you was, okay, what are some things that you can know that you know about the religious claims you've ever heard? I'm still trying to find out what you actually believe. Like, do you believe that Jesus was the Jewish Messiah? Do you believe that the prophecies in the Old Testament came to pass?
According to the story, he would be the one that brought the new covenant. And so, first of all, people don't even understand the new, or should I say part itself, the renewed covenant. It's really the renewed covenant. So anyways, the verse 1 and 2, Jesus talks about the temple being destroyed. Verse 3, they said, when will this be? when will be the sign of thy coming? All right, I'll be right in there. The sign of thy coming and the end of the world. See, the end of the world, I thought was going to be destruction and fire, because that's the doctrine and dogma of the mainstream. But the end of the world, when you look at it in Greek, it's age, it's eon, it's the time frame. And that time frame was the destruction of the temple when that system was over. And they seen it happen. And that was Revelations 2, all lining up all the way through. Even if you get into the works of Josephus, you'll see Josephus, the wars, when they went up into all that stuff.
Okay. You may have to go. I heard somebody come in a second, but
Oh no,
even
no,
as
I'm
I'm
good,
hearing, even as I'm hearing you though, one of the things I'm thinking is like, what should, like somebody like me, right, who used to believe
Right.
all this in a number of different, I used to believe all of this in a number of different ways throughout my Christian, like you went from this belief to that. But even in Christianity, you don't typically come in and stay the same denomination your whole time. You're bouncing around as you're learning things and you're seeking and you're figuring things out, and you realize, oh, that can be interpreted a different way. And before you know it, you've been through 4 or 5 denominations. But even in all that, I guess as I'm hearing you, one of the things I've realized is, oh, so we can look at literature and say that anything is the fulfillment of something prior, because we have the ability with our minds, just have the capability to finesse things and finagle things to, hey, this looks like it could be similar to this. So I'm going to say this is a fulfillment of that. And I'm going to say
similar. I hear what you're saying, and we can do that. And let me know, or let me let you know that they are doing that. Okay, it is being done.
Here's the thing:
okay?
The New Testament authors
done.
did that all the time. The New Testament authors, if you look at Matthew chapter 1, this was done to fulfill what was said by the prophet Isaiah. Then you go back to Isaiah chapter 7. This virgin is with child, and before the child is, you're like, wait, they're talking about a real person who was pregnant at the time of Isaiah with child, right. And that person is going to name it. And then Matthew comes along centuries later and says Jesus is the fulfillment of that. So there's a history in the
so what
New
that
Testament.
is though, see what that is too is that's another archetype of the destruction and coming. See, that's where we can't get caught and stuck, because once I figured out that that's not the prophecy to be, because that was dealing with Isaiah's son, Melchizedek was, I'm saying how that's said, but anyways,
not Isaiah's son, but he said, well, go ahead.
But it was one of the sons that was being born from the maiden. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, the point, the point is, it's when the archetype happens. So the prophecy was at the end in Malachi is that Isaiah would come before the great day of the Lord. Okay, remember that? Remember that Isaiah was supposed to come.
Isaiah.
Pardon me, Malachi. Sorry, Malachi. In the last chapter of Malachi, it's dealing with the prophecy of Elisha coming back for the day of the Lord. Do you remember that?
I'm a little foggy in the Malachi, so go ahead.
All right. So anyways, Malachi had a prophecy real quick that Elijah would come back before the day of the Lord. Okay. And so what happened was, and this is how I'm relating back to the gospel, the good news of the Messiah, because as the story goes, if we're going to go according to the story, Jesus, or should I say John the Baptist, was baptizing and baptized Jesus. And then after that, Jesus was talking about how John the Baptist is Elijah.
And that does it for you.
So now watch this. Oh, it gets better. It gets better. So now John the Baptist is Elijah, right? In the spirit of Elijah. They come to John, ask, are you Elijah? He says, no. Jesus said he is. John says no to them. The angel Gabriel says to John's dad that you're going to name him John, but he's going to come in the spirit of Elijah. So now what did we do right there? We just got people stuck, because you think that reincarnation is like that, coming back in the same body. Nah, it's not. And John shut that down because they even
But
thought Jesus. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's my question to you, because as I'm hearing you, all I'm thinking is this is one of two things.
Go ahead.
This is
Water,
good
please.
fiction. This is good fiction being turned into more good fiction. So you have prophecies, or you have literature from the Hebrew Bible, then you've got centuries going by, and you've got people updating these things, which you can do that with literature
and
all
acting
you
them
want.
out and playing them out and playing them out.
Yeah, even if it's live action role play or whatever it is, even if it's somebody trying to make these new
Right.
these first century figures, the reincarnation, as you say, or the re-embodiment or the recapitulation of these Hebrew Bible ideas, even if it's all that, why should I think that it's anything more than an author having fun with a literary text and reinventing it for their current status? Why should I think there's any truth to it? And how could you know that that's the case? How do you know that that's the case, and that it's not just literature building upon literature?
So here's the good news, and I'm glad that you said that and brought all that up, because it's not about the literature, so to say. It's about the message or the understanding of it. So watch this. So when Jesus comes on the scene, they ask Jesus, right? Because now first, let me see if you got this understanding before we move forward. Do you see how something can be taken literal and figurative
At the same time?
even at the same time? I was just asking for both ways.
My understanding is if something is literal, there is no need to have it be figurative. If I say, I'm so hungry, I can eat a horse. If it's literal, it doesn't need to be figurative. If it's figurative, it's not going to be literal. It can't be. There's no need for it to be both.
Right. So, but you understand the difference between figurative and literal.
Naturally.
So here's my point. When it said the sun, moon, and stars fell, like, is that something that you would take literal or that you would take figurative?
I think you can take it either way. I don't know which way I would take it, because in one sense, you could say that apocalyptic literature was supposed to give the hearers. You good?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Apocalyptic literature was supposed to give the hearers the sense that their entire world could be and would be changed by God. Now, to what degree that change was going to happen? Is it going to happen 100% as the text says? I think even if it ended up just feeling like my whole world just changed because Cyrus came in and freed us from the Babylonians or whatever, and it feels like my world, it's as consequential as if the stars fell from heaven. But that's
there you go,
figurative, not literal.
That part. Okay, so let's move forward from that. So now, Jesus said this. He said, eat my flesh, drink my blood. Some of his disciples left him after that. That's vampire. You're not supposed to eat flesh or drink blood. Did you know that? Did you know that's against the law?
So is your point in the fact that they left means that they took it literally? Okay.
See, this thing's not for everybody, okay? Because once you tap into this, oh man.
So
it's
so
like,
but here's the.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Even when you say Jesus said, right?
Go ahead.
Like, how do you know that Jesus said anything? How do you know that this is not just literal? How do you know that not? So we talked about figurative versus literal. How do you know that it's not just literature?
First of all, it's so funny. We caught in the trap. We know Jesus didn't even say that. Okay. Trap number one. I told you about that. Okay. So now we can go into the name game, into getting all to that, and then to get into that track. Okay, but we don't want to get into that. So how do you overstand all of that? Is with the logos. It's the word, bro. It's the word. It don't matter if it's my word, your word, as long as it's the Most High's word, as long as it's wisdom. Wisdom is the highest. That's why the Gnostics called her Sophia, because it's the highest.
But in all this, I guess what I'm not hearing is, like, you're showing me how you connect the dots between Isaiah and this passage here and Malachi and this passage here. But I'm not hearing how you know any of this is something that you can know and not just things that you can believe.
Well, here's the things that we know with the facts. Okay, we know right now that there's a land over there that they call Israel, that they got this little wall over here, that they claiming this. We see the pyramids, we see what they claim in Egypt. Like, we got the facts to that. Okay, so now they put this in the story. Okay, so his story, his story, obviously written from the victor, so you know it's going to be spun, so it's going to be backwards, son. So at that stage, everything's in reverse. So once you start looking things like that, then you realize that it's not left. You know what I'm saying? It's really right. It's not right. It's really left. It's not really good. It's really bad. And this is where you get caught in duality. But to get out of that is back to the word, the logos. So if Jesus said it, if wisdom said it, then it counts. And this is how it counts.
I still don't know how you're going to connect this to something that you can know that you know, as opposed to just believe. Because even when you start getting into the logos,
right?
How, like, where are you getting this from to the point that you think it's worth your matter of fact? Let me just ask you: do you think that you're accepting any of this by faith, or is all of this like faith is out the window? I know this stuff now.
Well, faith is a knowing. Faith isn't a wish and like wishful thinking. So faith, Christianity is messed up what faith is. Faith is a knowing. Like, you know, I know if I do
faith,
this,
you said faith isn't knowing, right?
No, faith is knowing. Faith is a
faith
knowing.
Is knowing. So if I have faith that I'm going to meet my wife,
know that you know that you know. That's the faith.
If I have faith that I'm going to meet my wife tomorrow, do I know that I'm going to meet my wife tomorrow?
That's like a wish. That's like hopefully type. You know what I'm saying? Faith operates different. Faith operates as a knowing. Like, for example, I know if I drink this, it's going to travel through all here, and then I'm going to pee that piece out later. That's how the faith that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about what they done crafted to be this hopeful, wishful thinking. Nah, make believing. No. So back to the story, yo. When it comes to the point is to understand it correctly, the story correctly, so you can take the message from it. You know, most people get caught up in the story or the messenger and forget the whole message. That's the gospel. The gospel is the message.
So what is the gospel to you?
The gospel can be found as good news, right? That's what they mean. Good news. But what
is the good news? What is the good news to you?
So the good news to me would be in Luke 17:21, right? Or we can start at verse 20. The religious cats came to him and said, "When's the kingdom of God coming?" And he goes, the kingdom of God doesn't come with observation, low here, low there. Like, the kingdom of God is within you. So now I'm like, okay, the kingdom of God is within me. So now in 1 Corinthians 3:16.
Hold on. Wait. Before you remember the 1 Corinthians that you're about to go to. But you just told me, you agree with me, I think, that we don't know that Jesus said any of those things that are being attributed to him. So even the Luke 17 that you just went to, we don't know that Jesus said any of that. And so if I'm asking you what the good news is, and you're about to tell me what Jesus said in Luke 17, but we don't even know that Jesus said that, how do you know that that's actually...
We'll say what Yeshaya said. What Yeshaya said there, right, is that the kingdom of God does not come with observation. It's not coming down. It's within. And then Paul goes to say that the Holy Ghost is the temple. Like this body is the temple of God. So now you look at the temple and they said you got to go to the temple for God because that's where the Ark of the Covenant or that's where God is. So they always get you go to the outside and this is it. But it's really on the inside. So once you get there, and Paul explains in Galatians chapter 5 about walking in the flesh and walking in the spirit and the things that keep you from entering within. It's shadow work. Like cats really don't want to do shadow work. People really don't want to examine themselves and like just like, and I'm not talking about beat yourself up. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about something that you know is keeping you from not being your best. You know what I'm saying? At the end of your day, it's LES.
Yeah. So I got a couple more calls I wanted to get to, but I definitely wanted to just to hear you out on where you are with things because it's good to hear where you're coming from. I still am at a loss as to how what you're talking, especially when you say that knowing is the same as faith. I don't see how you've removed belief from your epistemology. And my epistemology is to the point where if I have to use, if faith is my only access to the thing that you're calling a fact, and I can't know it other than having faith in it, that's not knowledge, number one. And two, I'm struggling to hear what's good news because even if you say the good news is the kingdom is within you as opposed to having to die and go to it or wait for it to come down, the kingdom of God is within you or in your midst or however you want to translate that passage. Even if that's good news, even if that's what you're saying the good news is, that to me still is not good news because what it does is it puts the onus on us to bring out what is supposed to be the kingdom of a God. Now, I know if you're 5%, you're not looking for a God that's external to us. You think we are the gods. And so we are, it's not the kingdom of God, it's the kingdom of us.
And that's part of the good news. See, once you realize that you are God, like you are Elohim, like once you here to wrap it up and let it go. So the single absolute good essence, right? And you've heard me say this before, the SAGE, the single absolute good essence, that's the most high good. That's the most high God. God is basically good over distortion. You know what I'm saying? Things that distort, you know, because we know that positive and negative work together. But when you start to distort things, then it becomes wicked, then it becomes evil. And that is known through the conscience. Now, if one has seared their conscience like a hot iron, then they're not going to feel and understand or know what's really going on. Like if you can sit there and disrespect your sister and cuss your sister out, then I know that your conscience is so seared that you probably don't even hear me, bro. But if you're the type that would be like, yo, that would be something foul, then I know after a while, it'd be like, you know what? There is something that is good. There is something that is within called the conscience. And that good news is that's God and that's you.
I appreciate you sharing
and you follow that. And all the books and everything else, add to that. Let it add to it.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because I appreciate you sharing your perspective and how you've worked things out thus far. I know you probably look at somebody like me and you think, oh, Brady's in process. He's not where he's going to end up. But I am pretty much sure where I think I'm going to end up on a lot of things. But when I hear you saying the things that
you
hold on, let me finish this. Let me finish this point.
You off, but you're gonna.
Wait. Let me finish this point. Let me finish this point real quick, because when I hear the things that you're saying, I hear you in process, and here's what I think. I think a lot of people have been tripped up over the years by religious baggage and religious vocabulary that you've not been able to let go. Like I think you've deconstructed and reconstructed several times in your journey, but I think you're holding on to religious language that you really, I think,
what did you deconstruct from? That was the question.
I deconstructed from using faith as my epistemology and faith in things that cannot be verified, which is even worse.
See, the deconstruction, you stumped me on the deconstruction because it's really more of it's really more just growing instead of like you just grow. It's like something that
No, but I think
you
there's some
take.
things that are worth
Go ahead.
deconstructing from. I hear you, but I think there's some things that are worth. If you've got a faulty foundation and faulty scaffolding, you don't want to keep building upon that. And if you're, to me, if your worldview leaves room for all kinds of metaphysicals and you're using the terminologies of God, but you only got that terminology. Clarence the 13th X, he got the
Oh
terminology
well,
that he
actually,
used
I
for
can't even give
5%.
credit. I can't even give credit to them. I kind of just came up with that. But see, this is how you use words though. Because see, words and spelling, we know spell and we know that deals with magic and we know that they casting spells with languages and stuff like that. So
I
there's
don't know that.
different
And I don't think you know that
degrees.
either. I think that's something you believe. I don't think you know that. I think that's the vocabulary to explain things to yourself that way was given to you in a
Etymology.
metaphysical framework. But
Etymology. See, that's where my foundation goes to.
But
Because I
etymology is
understand
not
what
a
you're
good way
saying.
to. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying, you know, and I'm mindful of that because that's how another people can go off track. You just make something up just out of thin air. But when you have a certain foundation, like you said, you can build upon that. And your foundation, you know, our foundation may have been on religion or this and that, but at the end of the day, it was on the breath, it was on the ruach. And that's how I know this is real because I breathe it in, I breathe it out. You know, this is the energy, this is the life, and that is the conscience. And at the end of the day, if you didn't have that and I didn't have that, game over.
Yeah, to me, what that sounds like, and I really do got to dip to this next call, but what it sounds like is I think what religion has done is it's taken things from the natural world and reinterpreted those things in metaphysical ways and sold it back to us as more as spiritual things, when really I think there's a lot of natural things that if we would pay attention to those, we would probably get further. But once again, I appreciate hearing where you are because when you comment on Facebook, I'm always like, you sound like you've deconstructed, but then you're also holding on to things that I would run from. But I'm hearing how you're putting it together.
What do you
and it
say
makes
holding
sense.
on? Just so I can take something away. What do you mean holding on? So I can.
So like holding on to things like the ruach and even the terminology of God. You got those terms from religions.
Well, that's why I said
so,
breath. That's why I said
breath.
But I'm like I try to be all things to all men that I may be able to speak their language.
No, I get you. But if you. But when you think about breath and ruach and all that, do you import any supernatural importance to those terms, or do you see them as all we know that they are, which is these are the physical processes of organisms taking in oxygen? Like, okay.
And then you deal with the elements, you know, elementals. That's how they mythologize that, and that comes to play when you mix certain chemicals together. So it all comes around full circle, but certain people just they get stuck. And that's why I say with you, you're going to continue to go around full circle because there's places where I thought, even now where you said, are you good? I say I'm good. But you know what? Don't be surprised if next thing you know, I don't get tossed back into the circle again. Because there's always like, even with technology and AI, I mean, I know, you know, AI.
Yeah.
So we'll have another conversation.
I appreciate you calling in, man, for sure. It was good to connect with you face to face and voice to voice.
Right. Much love, yo.
So much love. Get with you. Hey, y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with the channel. We got, I'm seeing the private chat. Somebody said, okay, and this person dropped off. They left a message. If you want to call back, I had three people that called in and then let the call go. So if you want to call back in now that the line is free, definitely do that. I saw a comment in the chat. I saw two comments saying Brady is too patient, or I don't know how Brady has the patience to. So I'm just going to be honest with you. A lot of times I'm listening because, you know, one of the 21 laws of power they say is seek first to understand before seeking to be understood. So a lot of times I'm listening to understand where somebody's coming from. And I think even in your conversations with other people, like, I'm just gonna be honest, this is me personally. I always pay attention to the people who get in conversations and they do all the talking and none of the listening. Because how do you know if what you're saying is landing? How do you know, like, if you're targeting the right thing unless you can hear where somebody's coming from? So I listen a lot because I want to know where people are coming from. That will help me to understand where do I need to go now. But then also, I'm just being honest, this is no offense to anybody who ever calls in. Sometimes I like to let people talk because I want listeners to hear what their worldview sounds like from somebody who is outside of their own head. Like when you're in your own head, you rationalize things a certain way and you say, oh, this makes sense to me. But then when you hear somebody else who believes maybe not all of what you believe, but they believe 40%, 50%, 70%, 80% of what you believe, and you hear them vocalize it and you say, damn, is that what I believe? Is that what I sound like? Do I really want to think about this a little bit harder? So sometimes I let people talk because I just want it out there because I don't want it to be me making a caricature of somebody's worldview. I want their worldview to be on display. It's better than even me trying to still man it. No, you just said this. I listened to you talk for 4 minutes. You just said this. So when I bring it back up and I critique it, this isn't a straw man of your position. You just said this. But I got a couple other calls I'm going to get to real quick. James, I see you. I'm going to bring you in a sec. But let me get to Rich just in case. Rich is a theist and not an atheist. I want theist callers. If you see the prompt, right? If I say the gospel is not good news and you want to represent and say, no, I think it is, I want to hear from those callers first. If you call in, the last caller, I let him go a little bit because we got a pass. He comments on my Facebook page a lot. He was a fan of my Christian hip hop back in the day. So I gave him leeway to kind of share where he was at. I'm not going to be as giving with the time going forward. I'm going to press you to represent where you're at. We're going to go back and forth. I'm going to give you room to speak. You're going to give me room to speak. If I have to mute you, it's because I feel like I can't get a word in edgewise. Please do not unmute yourself until I've given you the go ahead. If you unmute yourself while I'm talking and I've muted you, I'm probably going to kick you from the channel. So if I mute you, I'm going to try not to do that. Even the conversation I just had with Les, there were times where he and I were both trying to get a word in edgewise, but I didn't feel like I had to mute him. We just were both trying to get into the conversation. That's fine. But if I'm trying to talk and I can't get a word in and I have to mute you, chill until I unmute you. Okay. So I'm going to bring in, I had Brian, then I'm going to go to Rich and then James and then Brian. All right. James, I'm sorry, Rich, just so you know, your camera is off. If you want to cut it on, I'll give you a chance to do that. All right, there you go. And your mic is muted. You want to unmute your mic and then I'll bring you in. There we go. All right.
You and I.
Hey, what's up, Rich?
Just to let you know real quick, I am an atheist. My name was like the city Richmond. We used to talk a couple of years ago a lot when you first came.
Yo, I do remember you. Yeah.
Yeah. We used to talk a lot.
How have you been?
I've been good. That caller was interesting. I won't go into it, but he doesn't realize the language and the mindset is still a mindset of believer in superstition. It doesn't matter what the believer is in superstition, and you couldn't get that across to him. And
yeah,
I do. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I was trying to, when we talk about knowledge as justified true belief, he was saying that knowledge and faith are the same thing. And I'm like, no, they're not the same. Even though to think that you have knowledge, it is a belief, but it's not just belief. It's a belief that you have reason, you have good reason to feel confident in. So I can see the connection between faith and knowledge, but they're not the exact same.
Not at all. Because belief is a two-headed sword. It can be belief without knowledge. Or the word belief is also with knowledge. Like, I believe I have a gray beard, but I have the knowledge that I have a gray beard.
Right. You've got good reason to believe that.
That's right.
And reason that you think is quite irrefutable.
That's right. But it's still a belief, technically.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. And I'm like you. I try to get rid of all religiosity language in my everyday life, from
Hmm.
believing to faith. I use the word confident because I know something.
Yeah.
Do you believe in yourself? No, I have confidence, but there are things I will do in the future I have no idea that I'm going to do
Hmm.
because you don't know. So therefore I have no reason to believe in myself to that extent. I
Mm.
confident because of my past experience of the person that I am, of what I usually do. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And that's
You
what
actually
I was
don't
talking when I
know.
said the problem of inductive reasoning. You cannot be certain about future events.
Absolutely not.
Any statement about the future is predicated upon if the laws of physics that we've become acquainted with, if they hold true, that's it's predicated upon all these things. So saying knowledge is kind of shorthand for if these things hold, but we don't know that they will. We have good reason to suspect that they will because they have not diverted since we've come to know them, but we don't know that they will.
Yep. And I listened to a lot of podcasts. I remember I used to tell you that there's this one, Hidden Brain, and the podcast real quick was about, do you know yourself in certain situations? Like you'll say, man, if I was in that situation, I know what I would do. You
Yeah.
literally do not know the person who exists at that time. You
Hmm.
don't know it
Hmm.
because
How about that?
you don't have the emotions, you don't have the hormones, you don't have all the stuff that's going to happen. And that person, in almost a technical sense, does not exist until that moment happens. Even if
Hmm.
it's you.
Wow. That's one of my edible thoughts.
No, think about it.
Yeah.
What you don't you you have never broken your leg. If I break my leg, I'll just work my way through it. You haven't broken your leg yet. You
You
don't
don't
know
know
the
you in that
level of pain.
situation.
You don't
Yeah.
know someone breaks into your house and they're gonna. If someone breaks in, you know what? I'd shoot that. No, you don't know.
Yeah.
You have not
Yeah.
experienced these things. You literally, and the Hidden Brain is this psychologist, and he's a researcher. And
Hmm.
I listened to that podcast, and it was about 3 years ago, and it's so true.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm going to check that out. Real quick, before I let you go, is there anything in particular that you wanted to hop on to say? I want to give you a chance to share whatever before in case there's a theist on the line waiting. I want to try to get to those theists.
Okay, I had to. I was telling someone, and I do a lot of TikTok now. That's why you don't see me. I've
Okay.
gone into the dark world of TikTok, and
How's it been for you?
love it. I live there
Nice.
live. I don't do it
Mm.
myself. I
Okay.
join, and I think I told you I want to get honestly. I want to get more in touch. I like this community here, but it's really more of a U.S. white community overall.
Mm.
And TikTok, I'm getting a lot of African. I'm getting a lot of Caribbean. I'm getting a
Mm.
lot of Black people from Europe and stuff. I'm getting a different tact on atheism that I just don't get here.
Interesting.
And
If you can send me some links to some of those videos where you find those communities there, and I want to check it out and see what you're getting into there.
yeah, they're great. But but one of the things I've been telling people, another quick thing is when people die, right? One of
Hmm.
the last things of Christianity I deconstructed was we all have this moment to die. We all are appointed to die. Like it's like a day, like you're gonna die March 27th at 3:27 a.m. in the morning. Like everything else, there is no time to anything until that time happens.
Hmm.
And even a lot of atheists on TikTok, when I tell them that, they struggle with that idea. Until that idea happens, and it took me about 20 years to come to that conclusion. Wait a minute, there's no moment. There's no moment for anything in life or on a life or die. See, I'm even talking TikTok language or dying. You
Hmm.
die when that moment happens, not before, not after. It's not planned. It's no reason. It wasn't your time. None of these things. That was one of the last superstitions in Western
Hmm.
Christianity I got rid of.
Wow. Wow. And I need to have you on the show actually at some point, man. I mean, message me if you can.
I will.
Are you on Facebook at all?
Oh yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Mess
I actually send you some stuff. I've talked to you.
Okay. Well, what's is for me, I don't always connect people's names when
I
I see
will.
them on other platforms.
I will put my I'll put Rich down. I'll put my I'll say I talked to you on YouTube. And I used to talk to a
What's
lot of
your username on Facebook?
Richmond.
Richmond. Okay. Got you.
No, Rich RH. No, Rich RH or some HD. I made it.
Okay, I'll look for you on there, but definitely connect with me so we can connect again. Appreciate you calling in, yo.
Okay, man. I'll let you go.
Good stuff. Yep, get with you. All right. So I told y'all yesterday was one of the worst days of my life, worst nights of my life. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Let me bring James on for a second. Yo, what's up, James?
Hey, what's up, dude?
Chilling, man. Good to see you, bro.
It's great to see you as well. Would you like to talk about uniformity and fallibilism, the last conversation, or do you want to go back to the previous conversation and talk about the issues that I had in that conversation? It's up to you. I'm cool.
I saw you making comments about fallibilism, and what else did you say? You said
uniformity. Yeah, uniformitarianism is actually the philosophical concept that yesterday we can believe that tomorrow is going to have the same physical laws of the universe that yesterday had. So that's uniformitarianism. And then fallibilism is the ability to be able to construct a framework of knowledge without believing that you're absolutely 100% correct. So fallibilism is knowing that there is a fallibilistic nature to constructing knowledge, and that you can also always have to reconfigure things. In your fallibilism, it's accepting that you can have knowledge without absolute knowledge. And
it's sort of a way just to get by in the world without feeling like until you have certainty you can't move.
Yeah, well, it's just the acceptance that you can never have 100% certainty. There will never be 100% certainty, and you have to move throughout the universe with the knowledge that you can have concrete, really specific, like, I have this knowledge and here's what I base it on. The difference between fallibilism in the naturalistic sense and the theistic sense is that theism can use faith and past doctrines and all sorts of miracles and all sorts of things to try to come to a construct of their model of the nature of reality, whereas a naturalist, using not philosophical naturalism but methodological naturalism, they have to come to the same fallibilistic knowledge moving forward using a different format. So rather than using faith, rather than using miracles, rather than using doctrine, the fallibilist from a methodological naturalist position only bases their moving forward in the theories about the nature of reality. Like, we all get up and we all wake up and I'm thirsty and I'm hungry. You don't have to think about, why do I base that on it? You're just, I'm hungry. Like, you don't base it on anything. You can think about that later. After you have the cheeseburger and you go, why was I hungry? You can think about that. But just, why are things the way they are? You can pursue these two different modalities. The methodological naturalist will base it upon Bayesian priors and or some other methodological naturalistic way of coming to their model of how to pursue the nature of the universe. Whereas a theistic model can use a miracle. Like, anything can just be,
or reports of miracles.
Gravity can just stop working. I can just fly to the moon. I mean, God could just have me split the moon, Muhammad, whatever. Like, a theist can use anything to be a part of their framework for the model for moving forward, whereas the methodological naturalist has to limit their framework to only our Bayesian priors or some other methodological naturalistic form of moving forward through your experience and given the limitations of our senses, we are all using the limitations of our senses to do that. And that's also something that I
think the theist doesn't often take into account what it means to have methodological supernaturalism. Like, that's just something that you don't hear because you sort of assume that there's nothing wrong with that as a
methodological supernatural. I've never even actually considered that could be a thing too. But that would be like constrained to prophecy, and like, you'd have constraints on it, right? You couldn't just wish it into existence. Like, when I was a kid, I thought I could just pray to go back in time if I needed to. Maybe that would
but
work.
You know what, though? I give the theist this. I give the theist this much. If their God is real, then supernatural methodological supernaturalism is not a problem. If you can demonstrate that your God is, like, once you get that established, then anything's possible. But you haven't
Exactly.
established that.
Exactly. And that's the problem, is that we can't establish miracles. What we can do over and over again is we can establish naturalistic, philosophical, scientific approaches to investigation of different situations and different. We can ascribe different monikers to different things, and we can test them. Naturalistically, this is easy. Testing miracles, testing all of these prophecies, this becomes much more complicated. And given the nature of the fact that it's not that reliable, we haven't been able to send people to the moon based upon miracles. We haven't been able to understand the nature of molecules and quarks,
Right.
and photons, and any of this through miracles. That hasn't come through miracles. That's come through methodological naturalism. Every major discovery we've made has been through methodological naturalism. So if you
but the theist wants the
go
ahead. I was gonna say the theist wants the benefit of the doubt, though, that their method of supernaturalism is just as successful as methodological naturalism, if not more so.
Well, of course,
because they've got a book filled with the history of its success.
Yeah,
so we don't necessarily have to produce the success here and now. I've got a book telling you how successful this method has been.
Yes. And what's fantastic about that is that whenever if you go from there, so you say, yes, we have all these miracles, we have all these supernatural occurrences, we have all of these. Well, then, okay, then let's go back and investigate those claims, because they were so long ago that it's very difficult for us to investigate those claims, whether or not they were using the same cognitive biases and the same psychological issues that we go through today.
Yeah.
Therefore, we created better tools to be able to assess those cognitive biases, be able to assess whether or not we're coming to poor conclusions based upon our reasoning as primates, as pattern seekers, as evolved from primates who are terrified of their ancient deaths and things like that. As we look into that, we have to come to better ways, methods of seeking out truth. And so if we give that same filter over all the claims of the Bible, we have to come to a more rigorous truth, that is, these claims cannot be investigated and therefore cannot be validated as concrete, as truth, as anything that's merited as evidence. And that's the thing that is really hard for people to because why wouldn't you accept that Napoleon existed based upon, you never knew him, you believe all the stories
from theists all the time,
writings, everything. And so we get all this historical critique. How come you believe all these other things happen based upon all these writings? And I would say that most historians don't believe the miraculous, that they don't believe
they don't take even the naturalistic claims, whether it comes to Alexander the Great they don't even take all the naturalistic claims at face value. Right. You investigate, you look at what contemporaries have had to say, you look at archaeology.
Where that should happen. We dig down, we do discovery, we try to see, did this occur? Is there any
what was most likely,
exist?
what's probable, what's plausible, all that factors into when we say this is history or how the story goes.
I hate to cut it short, Brady. This is a horrible day for me. I have to euthanize one of our family pets today.
Oh no, sorry, man.
It is tough.
Sorry, bro.
It's a family horse, and we love her. But she's had a great retirement. She's it's just time. She's not going to be able to eat anymore, losing teeth, all that stuff. So it's just time to go, and we come to terms with it. So, but I have to go do that.
My heart to you, man.
Man, thank you so much. It is going to be tough. I'm going to cry, but I won't show you. So, but I love you, bro.
Man. Much love, yo.
Thank you so much for the time.
Yo, thanks for hopping on. Get with you.
I hope I helped. I love you.
No, you did.
All
Indeed.
Right,
you did. Yeah.
All right. Later.
All right. The line is open. I had a couple people who were waiting. If you want to call back in, I'll put the link in the chat again. If you're on Facebook, scroll up in the comments. The link is at the top. It's pinned at the top. If you're on Instagram, go to my bio. I think the gospel of Jesus Christ is not good news, even though I traveled the world saying that it is. It's not good news. At the top of this program, I explained to you why I think it's not. But if you want to hop on and try to convince me or my listeners that it is good news, feel free to call in. We're going to chop it up. We may not agree, but we can agreeably disagree. Story time. So I told you I had one of the worst nights of my life last night. Went out to this concert, a group that I have been listening to since the late 90s, probably 98, Hieroglyphics. Is a member of the group who probably influenced me more than anybody else. My lyrical influences as a rapper, Big Daddy Kane, Eric Sermon from EPMD, Busta Rhymes, Redman, a little bit of Keith Murray, DOS Effects, and then this guy named Pep Love from the Hieroglyphics. If my style is a combination of all of those people. And so yesterday, somebody told me like, yo, they're actually in your city tonight. I was like, what? Went, cop tickets. Why did it turn into the longest, most horriblest night of my life? So there's actually a silver lining in this story I'm about to tell. And it may not seem like silver lining to you, but I'll explain to you why it's silver lining. I don't typically have bad days. Like I have good days on average. And if I do have a bad day, it's because, I ran into some like technological issue with the, something online or something like that. That's my bad days. I have great days. I've had a few bad days in the last maybe year. And all three of them, yesterday included, all three of them have to do with bad experiences. I'm almost embarrassed to say it. You're like, yo, why you even keep messing around? All three of my bad experiences in the last year, my bad days, have had to do with negative reactions to edibles. And I know you're already like, again? Oh my gosh. Long story short, the first bad day came from me not knowing my dosage. I thought that I was taking a much, without Faith says, I knew it. Yeah, I knew it. Well, yeah. The first bad day came from me not knowing my dosage. I normally take between 20 to 30 milligrams. And I was hanging out with a Patreon supporter, went down to hang out with him and his girl, and we were kicking it over the weekend. And they got me a gummy that was 10 times stronger than my normal dosage. I normally take 20 milligrams. This joint was 200 milligrams, and I didn't realize like what I was doing, and I popped the whole damn thing at once. Thus began one of the longest nights of my life. But I was in my hotel room by myself the entire night. It was a crazy, crazy night. And I came on here and talked about it. That's hey, Eddie said, what the damn? That's nothing, because guess what? Like you would have thought I learned my lesson, right? No. Months later, I'm hanging out with the same person. Again, him and his girl were hanging out. And they were popping 500 milligram gummies. And I'm like, yo, so his girl, she was popping them. And she's like, thin, petite frame pop. I'm like, if she's taking a 500 milligram gummy, I'm going to feel like a punk. If I just stick to my normal 20 milligrams and she's driving us around like she's functioning well. So I pop a 500 milligram gummy. Thus began the second longest night of my life. And here's the interesting thing about that. I was grooving off the 500 milligram gummy for a while. We was in the car. I was like, yo, I've never felt this good in my life. Like I was chilling. We went to a club, and the club had this aggressive music playing. And by the time we left the club, the music, the kick from the kick drum, it felt like somebody was it literally felt like somebody was kicking me in my head. And I was like, yo, we got to go. I don't know if I need to go to the hospital, but we got to go now. And we went back to the house, and I slept, and literally I went to sleep for like 15 minutes and woke up feeling right as rain. But I literally felt like I was like seconds away from calling an ambulance. That's how bad it was. You're like, okay, so after that, did you like just stay away from edibles, stay away from gummies? Did you? No, I said, yo, I was tripping. I took 500 milligrams at once when I'm used to taking 20 or 30 milligrams. That was back in like November, maybe August when that happened. Since then, I've been taking my normal dosage of 30 milligrams at least 2 or 3 times a week. I don't do it every day. I might do it on a Wednesday, then do it again on a Saturday. 30 milligrams, and I'll have a glass of wine with it because that kind of like sets it off too. I've been chilling on my 30 milligrams a couple times a week for the last, you got November, December, January, February, now March. 5 months of me taking my normal dosage of 30 milligrams a couple times a week with a glass of wine too, and just chilling. You've even seen me hop on here live, right? Just, chilling. So last night, I'm going to this Hieroglyphics concert. I'm like, y'all want to be nice at this concert. I already had dinner and had my little glass of wine, and I took my 30 milligrams, right? Oh my gosh. Yo, I took my 30 milligrams. I drive myself down to the concert. I'm chilling. The concert started at 8. And I text a friend of mine, the friend that told me about it. I said, hey, was there any opening acts and how long were they? Can I skip them? He said, yeah, the opening act was like 40 minutes. Definitely skip it. So I got there at 8:45. When I got there, the opening act is finishing up. This is a call-in show too. So if you're looking at the prompt, the gospel is not good news. If you disagree, please feel free to call in and I'll bring you into the studio. But I'm going to wrap this story up. So I'm down there, I'm chilling. I get there at 8:45, finishing, the opening act is finishing up. I'm chilling. And then, they're just playing music as they're rearranging the stage and, getting the DJ booth straight and all that. And I'm starting to notice like, oh, damn, remember that last time when the music was like torturing you? I said, yeah, but that was off of 500 milligrams. I'm on 30 right now. I'm cool, right? Like I'm checking in with myself. But the bass is pounding and it's like, okay, I'm good though. I'm good. But I'm also standing up the entire time. Remember this, I got there at 8:45. The group that I came to see doesn't get on stage until 9:30. So for about a good 40 minutes, I'm just standing there. And I don't know if it was the standing the whole time with the music pounding and all that. Right when their DJ came on stage, I started feeling extremely overstimulated. Like I was like the smells, the sounds, the sights, everything was becoming way too much. And I was standing on the stairs. It's like 5 steps. And I was standing on the second step. There's a bar behind me, there's a whole open area behind me, and then a bar behind them, 5 steps down onto the floor, and then on the floor is where everybody's standing. I'm on the steps, 5 steps. I'm on the second step. I start feeling like I'm about to pass out. I say, yo, this is not good. Sit down. So I sit on the steps, the second step. I sit on the second step. And I'm thinking, you got to know something about Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia Parking Authority is notorious for booting and towing cars that are parked illegally. And my car is like a good 3 long blocks away down near Delaware Avenue, down where the river is. Like 2, 3 long blocks away. I'm like, yo, if this is about to be a bad night like I had last time, I just need to get somewhere where I can sleep this off. I could sleep it off in my car, but that's 3 long blocks away. I can't even stand up. I feel like if I stand up, I'm going to pass out. So I sit down and I'm thinking, damn, if they got to call me an ambulance, that means my car stays here. That means I got to deal with Philadelphia Parking Authority. I might, I mean, like there literally have been national television shows about how bad it is to have your car towed in Philly. Like, I don't want to do that, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it. So I sit down, and the next thing I know, somebody's tapping me on my shoulder like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Because I guess what must have happened was as I sat down, I must have like slumped and like collapsed with my head down in between my legs to the point where it was clear this guy is not okay. So I lost consciousness and they're tapping me. It's like three people like, hey, are you okay? Are you good? Are you all right? I look up like, oh, no. I guess I just dozed off. But then I remember like, no, you almost passed out. You probably did pass out. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. So they leave me alone. Yo. The next thing I know, I feel the back of my head and my back hit the floor. And I'm not even conscious of what's going on because all I'm thinking is it feels like you just hit the floor, but it didn't hurt. And in my mind, I'm like, why didn't it hurt? Like your back of your head, your back. And I'm like, yo, why didn't that hurt? And then I like dreamt, I had a real quick dream. And the next thing I know, I'm surrounded, like 5 people are waking me up. Like, dude, are you okay? Like, do you know where you are? Asking me the questions you ask somebody I said, damn, I passed out again. Like, what the hell is going on? Long story short, they got me up to a chair. I sit down in this stool. I pass out again. And this time I must have fell forward and like injured. I didn't feel it at the time. I didn't feel it till an hour later that I must have like pulled something. The way I fell, I don't know how I landed. I fell out the chair, and next thing I know, they got me in a wheelchair, wheeling me to this back area away from the concert. And I spent about a good 30 minutes in this back room, just like trying to decide, are they going to call me an ambulance? Am I okay? Like, and I'm going through all of it was one of the most bizarre experiences because I didn't have control. And I'm out in public knowing I just passed out 3 times. And everyone around me is like, and I'm like checking my pockets, like, did they go through my pockets? Am I good? Do I still have my keys? Can I get to my car? Do I call an ambulance? I called my sister. All that to say, I stayed backstage, well, not backstage, in the back room for about a half hour where we're trying to figure out, and they're trying to get me to sign papers so that I don't sue their venue. And I'm like, no, I'm not signing anything. Then I did sign something after I read it because all it said was I refused medical treatment. I refused the ambulance. And I read everything. They put me out in the VIP section where I could sit down instead of standing. And I stayed for the rest of the concert. I stayed and I watched the concert from my chair, actually still feeling pretty good and not feeling like I was about to pass out, but they kept coming by to check like, yo, you still good? But what made it just so terrible is I'm out here to enjoy myself. And I literally passed out 3 times. And the 3rd time I passed out, I literally, like, to the point where even now, when I stretch my arm, I can feel like, yo, you tore something. And I think in the next couple of days, I'm either going to have to go get it checked out or it's going to heal. I'll know by today's Thursday. What's today? Today's Monday. I'll know by Wednesday whether or not I need to go get it checked out. But all that to say, the weird thing about all of this is this was not a hero dose. This was the normal dose that I take 2 or 3 times a week. But I normally take it when I'm home and I'm lounging. I don't stand up for a half hour after I take it. I don't have loud music blasting in my ears while I'm taking it. So I don't know if it was the overstimulation with the overexertion of standing up for so long. I wasn't as hydrated as I should have been. All that to say, wildness. But here goes the silver lining, y'all. The silver lining is this. This is going to sound crazy as hell, I know. But maybe this just shows you like how deep the thought process is. Because even when I was sitting on the steps and I passed out, not the first time, the second time when I ended up on the floor, and I felt my back and my shoulder, I felt them hit the floor, and I'm trying to wonder, like, yo, why didn't that hurt? And I didn't realize it didn't hurt because I was knocked out before I hit the floor. And the floor probably woke me back up, but I just felt the remnants of it. I didn't feel the whole impact because I was unconscious when it happened. And even as I was on the floor, I was thinking to myself, damn, so that's what it's like to be out on your feet or out before you hit the floor. I said, damn, I just experienced that. And I'm thinking through all these things. And as they're waking me up, like, yo, do you know where you are? Do you know what your name is? Do you know da? And I'm answering their questions. And I'm like, yo, I'm not good. I'm not in a good place. Yo, I am not lying when I say this to you. I literally was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, so what just happened? What happened was, like, this is going to sound, it sounds crazy to even say it. Like, what are you? What is this? You are a body and a brain that takes in stimuli and reacts to it. What just happened to you? Your ability to interpret the stimuli around you that's coming in, your ability to take in those signals from your senses and interpret them and rationally respond, that ability has been compromised. And so why are you on the floor right now? Because you lost your conscious awareness of what's going on. Yeah, you're still taking in stimuli, but you're not processing it well right now. Matter of fact, there was a period where you weren't processing it at all. And I'm literally on the floor, and this happened within seconds. All of these thoughts of make sense of why you're on the floor, looking up at people asking you, do you know where you are? I had to make sense of it in a split second. And all of that went through my head. And your sensory perception is compromised. It was out for a minute. You just got it back. And now you're like a computer booting back up. You're regaining your ability to interpret and make sense of the stimuli that's coming in. You've also got to think about how vulnerable you are right now, because you got a bunch of people around you that you don't know, who, if they wanted to, they could take advantage of you. I'm processing all that in microseconds. These thoughts are firing off. And I'm testing do you have full use of your limbs at this moment? If you wanted to sit up, can you do that? If you wanted to, they had to help me up. They had to help me to a chair. Okay, so keep in mind, you don't have full use of it. All of this is going on. But you know what didn't cross my mind at all? As compromised as I was, as vulnerable as I was, as just coming back into it out of being out of it as I was, as helpless as I felt. There was a security guard who he's the one that put me in the wheelchair and wheeled me to the back room and stayed back there with me the whole time and was being nice to me. And I could tell, why is he being so nice? And then I realized he's only being this nice because he wants me to sign this paperwork to absolve the club of any responsibility. As I'm going through all of that in my head, what didn't cross my mind in the slightest was, should you pray? Should you ask God for help? Could this be God getting you back for all of the teasing and taunting and mocking you've been doing? The Christians have been saying on your Facebook page for weeks, God is not mocked. Could this be God like getting you back from? It didn't cross my mind in the slightest. Now, it did cross my mind, if I shared that this happened, people might think this is God getting you back, but it didn't cross my mind for a second that this could be something spiritual. This could be the result of the God that you're thumbing your nose at being mad at, not for a second. And when I realized because like I said, I don't have bad days. My life is super dope. My life, I chill for 99.9% of the time. So the fact that I don't pray could just be because, well, you don't have any heart. No, this was a hardship. You're in a place with strangers and you don't have the capacity to act out your will right now. You're vulnerable. You can't even get up. You don't even know that if you do get up, you won't faint again. If ever there was a time to shoot up a prayer, they say there's no atheists in foxholes. If you feel like your life is on the line and you don't have any other options, you might just shoot up a prayer like, God, if you're up there. Even in that moment when I couldn't even stand, I couldn't even sit up, I needed help to get to a chair, and I even fell out of the chair and hurt myself. Not for a second did it cross my mind, hey, nobody's got to know. Just pray, just see. And when I thought back, I said, damn, I must really, I've been saying I've completely deconstructed. I've completely deconverted. I've been saying that for years. This was probably one of the first times and the last 2 times where I took the 500 dose and the 200 milligram. But this was probably the most extreme. Like I said, I fainted 3 times in public. I said, yo, if I ever wanted or needed evidence that I'm done with the God shit, I'm done with thinking that I might call on help from above. Like, it didn't even cross. It wasn't like I thought about it and said, no, don't. It wasn't even a thought. Because in the moment that I was on the floor in that club, I knew whatever help I was going to receive, it needed to be real help. And the God category is not a real category. Like, I'm not saying this to diss God. It just is not a real category in my mind. And so it would not have even crossed my mind as, you used to pray in times like that. It's not even a real thing for me. And so I sort of was proud of myself, like, yo, if you ever wanted or needed proof that you were done with it, count this. Count this. Michael Apple says, you've upgraded your placebos. I don't even know that I've upgraded them. I think I'm just done with placebo. If I'm going to call out for help, it needs to be real help. If it's not real, if it's not part of my worldview, why shoot up a prayer if I don't think anyone's there? For those who think, no, Brady, you really still do know there's a God. You really still believe, you're just angry at God, or you're just pretending, or you're just da-da-da. If ever there was a time for someone who's pretending not to believe to stop pretending and finally say, okay, God, you win, I need you, it was last night. It wasn't even an afterthought. And matter of fact, the only afterthought was, hey, notice you didn't ask God for help. Notice you didn't even think about it. And so now I pat myself on the back, partly to comfort myself, because this is where I hurt myself, but also to just take pride, like, yo, if I ever wanted or needed proof that I was done with the God shit, I think last night gave me that proof. But maybe you're not. Maybe you still need God. You still check in because you can't afford to let it go, because you feel like, man, I'm raising kids. I can't afford to be raising kids out here without prayer. I can't afford to, I don't know, my job is a little tenuous right now. I can't afford to, and you're kind of holding on to the God thing because you might need it. And you don't want to anger the God who could actually help you if you ever get that. And you think I'm tripping by saying the gospel is not good news. The gospel is silly. It's nonsense. And I would love to demonstrate to you why I say it's nonsense. And maybe you can demonstrate to me why it's not. Maybe why I should still see it as good news. This is your chance to call in and represent that. Represent your faith. Represent your God. Put your Christian flag in the ground and say, here's why it's still worth believing. The link to tap in is in the chat. If you're on Facebook, scroll up. It's the pinned comment at the top. If you're on Instagram, go to my bio. If you think the gospel of Jesus Christ still qualifies as good news, this is your chance to call in and tell us why. And I will like to have a conversation with you and let you know why I don't think it is. If you're an theist, and maybe you're not a Christian theist, but you still want to tell me why your religion is good news, I'd love to even hear why you think that's good news, because I don't think that these religions are good news. I think we can afford to chuck the deuce, to leave that in the past, to move on, to find new reasons to be good to one another. Not because we feel like this is how I get God to bless me, or this is how I represent God's goodness to other people, and whatever. I think we can move past it. I got a caller who's about to tap in, and I don't think this caller is a believer, because this caller comments on my Facebook page often, but I think I have seen posts that made me wonder, are you in or are you out? So this would be a chance for you to represent that. Your name is visible. Your image is not. If you want to take a moment to either erase your name or turn your camera on, I'll give you a second to do that, and then I'll bring you on the screen. I'll take a little swig in the meantime. I'll ask a question for y'all in the comments, even in the chat. I want to see what y'all say. Who thinks I should leave edibles completely alone at this point? Drop a 1 in the chat if you think I should be done with edibles. Drop a 2 if you feel like now you just need to make sure you're in a safe place when you do them. Maybe don't do them if you know you're going out to a club where you're going to be overstimulated, or make sure you're hydrated, all that. Because like I said, last night was my normal dosage, 30 milligrams, which I take several times a week and never have any issues. Though when I do it, I typically am home, reclined, laid up, chilling. I'm never out. Not never, because there have been times where I took that dosage and went out to a comedy club. When I went to see Rakim back in January, I took 30 milligrams and was chilling at the Rakim concert, but I was seated the whole time. Whereas last night I was standing the whole time. Elvis says, dang, 30 is wild. 30 is my normal. I take that several times a week. What's wild is when I took 500 milligrams that time. That was wild. But drop a 1 if you think, nah, man, stay away. 2 if you think, nah, just make sure you're in a safe place. My Unique Monique says, 1, meaning leave him alone. This could have ended much worse. Your body is trying to tell you something. Listen, but here's the thing. You say my body's trying to tell me something, but when I take it on average and I feel great, is my body trying to tell me something then too? This is where we get into the discussions about not being superstitious. If I was superstitious, I could say, oh yeah, see, last night means I'm not supposed to. But why would I side with last night as opposed to all the other times when I had no negative reaction? Why choose last night over, to me, the thing to do would be not to say, oh, you had that experience, never do it again. The thing would be, what were you doing last night that was different? I was in a club with loud music, which I had a bad experience with before, and standing for 40 minutes and not hydrated. That's the thing that I think. I don't think, oh, my body's trying to tell me something. I think that scenario is telling me, don't do that again. That's what I think. But I hear you. Let me see what else y'all said. I saw a couple 2s. All right. Back boobs make me smile says 2, meaning no, you can still do it and stay hydrated. That's what I'm thinking. Mythos Boy says 2. Hey Eddie says, I'll do 20. That's plenty for me. 20 makes me feel good. 30 makes me feel great. 30 with a glass of wine, even better. MJ Davis says 2. Okay. Some of y'all didn't put nothing in the chat, so you're probably in a place where you can't, or you're like, I'm not going to be responsible for for saying 1 and Brady misses out on pleasure, or saying 2 and Brady ends up getting hurt. So you're just going to not answer at all. You don't want no liability. Like the club last night, you want me to sign waivers before you can answer. But my unique Monique, I hear you. Trust me, I know it could have been way worse. I fell from sitting down. I was on the second step and I fell forward. I must have fell in a very weird position, because if I'm sitting on the step facing the stage and I fall forward and feel the back of my head and my back shoulder hit the floor, I must have fell in a crazy position. I could have broke my neck. And then when they took me up to the, to the on top of the upstairs part, I hate even saying upstairs because it was only like 5 stairs. But when they took me up the stairs and it made me sit in the stool and I fell out of that, I could have got hurt even worse then. So you're right. Like it could have ended up way worse. I just don't know that this means so stop doing it altogether. P&D Enterprise says 3. Smoke until you feel what you want to feel and ride that until you need to hit some more. I hear you. I don't smoke. I don't like smoking. I don't like that fire in my lungs. I tried smoking several times. I hate it. But okay, let me go ahead and get fill in the blank.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Ichabod. What's up?
How's it going?
Chilling, man. This is my first time ever actually speaking to you, but we've been liking each other's comments and going back and forth for years, I guess, on Facebook and maybe on here once or twice.
Yes, sir. So
I remember I told you the first time I saw your name. Say again?
No, keep going.
I was going to say the first time I saw your name, I don't know why I missed what you were actually doing, and I thought it was like DeBlanc or something like that. And then at some point on Facebook, it dawned on me. I said, "Oh, it's fill in the blank." So yeah. Love your name, but go ahead. You said number 3.
Yeah, so I'm the one who said number 3, and okay. I don't like the feel of smoke either, though I'm a smoker from, let's say, before birth. So I've tried edibles. Hey, I mean, if we do, never mind. I've tried edibles and I've ended up in your situation more than I would like to admit, because it doesn't take a lot for me. I literally just have to find my vibration and ride it out.
Interesting.
So I will go through the embarrassment of smoking, like hawking gigantic ass loogies. And I get to use that as an opportunity to bring up Dr. Sebi. Better out the end type stuff. But so I wanted to open up with that before I got into the question of God from my response. And we have to start with, I'm literally in the midst of the South.
Okay.
I hand the home a little Richard. Down here where, more scandals by word of mouth that never interrupt the flow of service. And so you just I have to continue with the language, because I tried once to sound like I was like the extra member of Cross Movement, and it didn't work. Because when you get into reading levels, the further south you get, the weirder it looks.
So let me ask you this, though. Normally when I bring people on, I ask them this question. I'll definitely want to ask you, because I've been sort of like very intrigued because of the kind of comments that you make on my Facebook page and the kind of posts that I make that you like. I'm like, yo, is this brother believer still or not? How would you classify yourself when it comes to theist, agnostic, atheist, and then where are you at with if you're a theist, where are you at with Christianity?
So it depends on the day, if I'm being real. Okay. And that's mostly because of the audience that is literally my neighbors and things that I learned in my upbringing. Now, the point that was made earlier, I definitely believe that God lives inside. And if we're not aligned with steal, kill, and destroy, there's a bit of Christ inside of all of us.
Hold on. Let me understand you bit by bit. Okay. I want to come back to the kill, steal, and destroy thing. But first, you said you do believe that God lives inside. Can I just ask you, what do you mean when you say God?
It might be my higher self. It might be the collective that is the higher selves of everyone. I just know it is not something masking as the creator that wants to see the creation suffer. That's it.
Is it something masking as the creator that wants to see the creation prosper?
There is, but I kind of want you to ask that question again, just so I understand. Because I get triggered easily when people say prosper, because I'm from the South. I'm down here up under Atlanta.
I feel you. I only asked that question because you said, like, a lot of times people want to talk about God in negations. Like, God is not this, God is not that, God is not evil, God is not hatred, God is not the reason why, your parents split up. God is. And so when you say, I don't believe that God is something masking as the creation that wants to see the creation suffer, I'm like, okay, that's a negation. Okay. But how about
I don't see.
Is it
okay? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the positive statement would be, I ask you, is it whatever God is it something masking as the creator that, okay, it doesn't want to see the creation suffer, but maybe it wants to see the creation flourish is another word instead of prosper. Is that what God is?
Yes.
Is there something that, okay. And what is the thing that's masking as the creator that wants to see the creation flourish? What is it? What is God?
So the closest I have to an answer for that, it would be the God of Christ. And I know that's going into circular reasoning type speech. But when you look at the attributes of what Christ presented to the people in the narrative, of how upsetting he was to them, because his descriptions of God were very much the antithesis of what they believed. Like, even when you go into the parable of the Good Samaritan, like, how dare you throw me in front of me? Like, God said I was righteous already. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, but Phil, think about that though. If Christ is the God that you're willing to embrace or accept, you say, but the God that you believe in doesn't want to see the creation suffer. Jesus is going to be responsible for a large portion of the creation suffering just by virtue of the fact that he's not saving anyone. Or not, he's not saving everyone.
So I want to answer your question. I want to answer the question for this live at this particular moment. Okay.
Okay.
The gospel, and I'm going into this, what Buddy went into, the God spell, is great for the empire. It's not good news for the actual person who leads God. Good news for the empire, bad news for the average.
What do you think the gospel is? And when you say God spell, are you separating that from what Christians would typically say the gospel is?
Yes and no, because they're under what I would call the God spell. So making them interchangeable at this current juncture is okay, but later on it might have to get like broken down. Because one of my questions on Facebook a lot of time is, what does a spell look like? We have people that show up multiple places every day, quote unquote, in Jesus' name, and their outcome is not anything that would have been even on the, let's take a standardized, like, multiple choice test on, did Christ say this? Was this said? So what I'm trying to unpack, and I'm actually thankful that your deconstruction came at the point in time where mine was already in place. It just was, I had to stay silent longer, because though I'm not a multi-stage, like, people know my name type guy, because you're in the South, people will look at you and crazy, like, you don't believe in God? Like, we're ready to take you outside right now. What do you mean you don't believe in God? And that's part of the energy. Go ahead.
Well, I'm curious because it almost sounds like you're saying you abandoned belief, but didn't abandon the vocabulary because it's helpful in light of your surroundings. But at the same time, it sounds like I still hear the belief in you.
So, okay. What I believe, even before I into the realm of appreciating Christian rap, I got a hold to Gnosticism a little bit, Gospel of Thomas type stuff. And so it illuminated an idea of God that I only saw sprinkled in the Gospels. You feel me? So beyond that, and beyond even Christ being thrown up on the cross and paraded around the world, whether or not he chose that position, my belief in him choosing that position is the God spell. I hope that made sense.
I don't know if listeners got it all, but I think I understand exactly where you are. I was getting this word picture when you were talking, and I say this, I offer this. This is actually the same thing that I said to Les, the first caller who called in. I'm going to say it in different language now, though. Here's how I would say it. You tell me if you think that there's any validity to this at all. So the reason why arrows are shaped the way that they're shaped is so that once they get in you, especially if it doesn't go all the way through, if the arrow goes all the way through, you can kind of just pull it out the back because the arrowhead has already broken skin on the other side. But if the arrow goes in and it doesn't like come out the other side and it's sort of just kind of sticking halfway in you, what's so deadly about that is you can no longer pull it out because of the way the arrowhead is shaped. It's got these jagged edges that if you try to push it further through, you're going to puncture yourself more. If you try to pull it out, you're going to rip out whatever the arrow is kind of caught on. And I'm sorry for that graphic imagery, but here's what happens with the religions
that's good.
And holy books in particular. Once they get in you, and if you ever get it in your mind, like, oh, I don't think this is legit, or I don't think this is all the way true, let me try to pull this thing out. But then somebody comes and says, oh, no. Have you read the Apocrypha? Have you read the Gospel of Thomas? Have you read what it ends up being is all these appendages on the arrow that prevents you from pulling it out clean. And so what you end up doing is you end up getting deeper into the religion, even if you feel like you got out of it, like I'm not like them anymore, but you kind of still are because you're still giving credence to this idea of there's something metaphysical going on. We just don't understand it all the way. And so you almost double down and end up deeper in it when you actually could have got yourself out of it.
So my only caveat with all of that is that in the telling of the Christ story in the book itself, we celebrate the idea that the Christed figure is deceased. So
as
of all what is Easter?
Well, Easter is not the celebration of the. Easter is not the celebration of him being deceased. Easter is the celebration.
He has
of him
to die
being
before he has to die before he supposedly rises again.
Yeah. But what we're celebrating is the resurrection.
Mm-hmm. But you have to die before you resurrect. So even if you don't believe in Easter, you're still accepting before that the fact that this dude died. Like, he came against the state, he came up against the religious authorities, and guess what? They took him out. And so, being someone who has been influenced throughout my life by groups much like the Panthers out of Oakland, I see Christ's idea, which just tries to give people a better something. We can call it life, but a better something. And I see these people ending the same way as Christ. And when we throw a holiday up in their name, it might as well be their Easter.
And not to be a stickler on this point, but it's never going to be an Easter unless at the same time as you died for your cause, you were also able to, or at least your followers were able to present you as having risen for your cause, because your cause wasn't just to die. Your cause was, the way the gospel stories end up getting told is, it doesn't end with a cross. It ends with an empty tomb.
So, and that's why I talk about the God spell as a spell, because if you automatically jump to the empty tomb, like the concept of, but wait, was he successful in his entire mission, and why not? And then to see him paraded as, an impaled individual in bronze, nation to nation for thousands of years, it's great. It's good news for the empire. It's not good news for the believer who is going off of turning the other cheek. Like, turning the other cheek often gets you slapped harder.
So, and I hear you. Here's the question that I have, though. What would I'm going to turn it around to you, but because this is one of the questions I ask myself. What would happen if you just I understand that you're saying the religious vocabulary is useful because of where you're at in the South, but in terms of let's take you out of the South, let's drop you in the Northwest, one of the most liberal parts of the country. Right? Let's drop you in the Northwest where you don't have to talk the religious talk anymore. What would happen to you and your life and your worldview if you no longer gave any credence to the idea of Jesus, or you no longer had to find motifs in the Bible like, oh, I can do X, Y, and Z because remember when Jesus said this? This is sort of like that. If you no longer had the Bible as your point of reference anymore, would you still what would you lose if you left it alone?
So, and I really have to start with, like, me being in the South and me being, even in my childhood, put in places of gifted education, et cetera, like the fact that Three Stacks had to get up on that stage and tell all of hip hop the South got something to say, and y'all still didn't accept it for real. Like, it would change me, and it would make me ignore everything that is not just the basis of my foundation. It is the basis of a world that no one wants to look into to see what has been going on. But it's cool for everybody to make memes about how, quote unquote, ignorant we are. Like, we slow a little bit, but we are the leftovers of, my grandmother, whose birthday is actually today, was daughter of a sharecropper. My tie to Philadelphia is I grew up AME, and that's where Richard Allen and Absalom Jones kind of was like, hold on. So removing the religiosity from me would literally cut off my tongue. So much to base anything on. And so if I'm trying to show you, hey, this picture of this rabbit right here, and you say, don't use an AI image, and I can't draw. I can barely speak. Like your raps actually helped me as someone who was demonized in his area for his vocabulary. Like,
no, I get you.
I say Pythons for fun now because of you.
Yeah, no. But so let me give you another. I think an analogy that might help. Like I know people. You talk about my rap group, right? The Cross Movement. There are people who were such Cross Movement fans that they could speak in Cross Movement. Like they know all the different lyrics to the point where they could pull apart from this song, from this verse, and whatever's going on, they've got a verse from Cross Movement that reference, like they speak in Cross Movement. I have friends that do that with the sitcom Frasier. There was a period in my life where I could do that with The Simpsons. No matter what was happening, I could pull from I could pull a quote from The Simpsons that'll apply right to this situation. And you're like, yo, what are you talking about? Yo, Lisa said this on this episode. You know what I mean? Mayor Quimby said this on this episode.
You don't even have to make the reference to it because everybody gets it.
Everybody gets it, right? But here's the thing. If you told me, all right, Brady, you can no longer speak in Simpsons, or you can no longer speak in Seinfeld, you can no longer speak in Friends, you can no longer speak, whatever the point of reference is, right? I could also speak in Will Ferrell movies. Like I could pull a quote from any Will Ferrell movie for any situation in life. If you told me you could no longer do that, you just got to speak regularly.
Okay.
I would not be devoid of conversation. I could still get by. I do those kind of things for fun and because I get the references and I hope you get it too. And if you get the reference too, be like, yo, so you did see that. No, you get it. But if you take that from me, I still have vocabulary. I can still dialogue. If we took the religious vocabulary from you, you don't think that you would still be able to get by?
So I do have 2 bullet points for you to prove you right in this very moment. Bullet point number 1 is Whitney was right. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well. Let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside, etc., 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 etc. Bullet point number 2 is MJ was right. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Okay. Outside of those 2 very, like, it took me a while to get those bullet points together. But those bullet points summarize everything that I'm trying to say as someone who was raised under children should be seen and not heard. As a spectrum adjacent individual, in a world, I don't even know if I want to drop this bullet point yet. Okay, so you ever wonder why multiple groups of people were looking for Christ, like in the narrative? Like, why do 2 different factions who don't seem to really deal with each other, because one coming at daytime, one coming at night, but 2 different groups are like, the stars say that child should be here soon. Has that part of the story ever, like, gotten chewed on?
In the state that I'm at right now, I don't take anything in the Gospels at face value. I'm always looking at the Gospels as it's all rhetorical. What were the authors trying to get the audience to think? Not what actually happened. What was the author's goal? So when I see those stories about wise men coming at this time, I never invest. Are you good?
Oh yeah, I'm not edibly.
Okay. But I don't read those stories and think to myself, what does it mean that one author has the wise men coming at this time and another author has? I don't spend time trying to figure out what those differences mean. To me, it's all rhetoric. And so I don't get lost in any of that.
So I want to tell you a really interesting anecdote. It's very personal, and I don't want to spend too much time on that for very long. But as a pattern recognizer, me learning that the reason I didn't grow up in Atlanta, born in '80 as a Grady baby, is because they blamed it on Wayne Williams, but it was from 78 to 82. There was interest in taking out a lot of African American boys in this area. And I only was in Atlanta for 2 weeks after I was born, grew up in Little Richard's hometown afterwards. And we're getting close to the conversation of delusions of grandeur or mentally broken as a result of being both of Western colonialization.
Phil, hold on. You broke up. You said we're getting close to delusions of grandeur, or what was the other thing?
So, delusion of grandeur for people in this nation who are the most broken when talk about losers of Western colonialism and African American chattel slavery. Like, did I break up again?
You still there, Phil? Yeah, you broke up really bad that time.
That's wild. I think I've said too much. Right. I haven't said enough. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight. So
no, but I mean, so one of the things that this does is it does kind of help give me a picture on where you're coming from. And I only press the issue with people if I feel like it's worth doing. I definitely love the fact that you're in the conversations. I guess I'm just still trying to understand. Like, do you feel like if God is this thing that is our higher selves, if the gospels and the literature are things that we're free to take and reinterpret for our own benefit and maybe use them to as points of reference for people in the culture that's their point of reference, so I'm still going to use it. I'm at least willing to say it sounds like you I guess I don't know. Would you say that the benefit of the Bible and the Christian religion and all that is not the truthfulness of it, it's the usefulness of it?
Yes.
Okay.
And
I'm not mad at anybody who's willing to continue to use it for what it's useful for, so long as they don't, like, I don't want to live in a world where people are stressing the truthfulness of it if we know all the different ways that it can't be true.
So if I'm in a random high school to college literature class and I'm supposed to write a paper that lets the people know that I know who the characters are, I know the details about what went on in the story, and I know how it ended, like that's my approach for its usefulness. I will say, because I'm surrounded by people who are of varying levels of the faith, but no one will admit to themselves that they might be an atheist. That's where I can often speak that language for them to have a better day, even though in the back of my mind, I'm like, ooh, I wish you didn't hate yourself for nothing for real. Like, I make a joke. David is a hoe. Like, if you look at David just as a character, like, I don't care if you got 3 baby mamas. Like, Bathsheba didn't consent. Like, let's go. And then later I would want to get to the point of, why would that be a man after God's heart in the first place? Because Bathsheba didn't consent. That's what I mean about speaking it in that language. Almost using it as the antithesis of the tool that it was supposed to be for those in rule.
It's weird to me because it's almost like it sounds like your game, or should I say, it sounds like you're okay with deconstructing the religion, but you're not okay with demolishing it. And sometimes I think one of the things I would like to do is push people.
I
want to push people.
I am very much okay. I am very much okay.
Okay with demolishing it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, So I don't get that from the things that you've said thus far. But if you say that, so then what does that look like for you then to demolish it?
Just to be an a-hole in the answering of this question, new heaven, new earth. But there's literally no more tears, no more sorrow. Like, we use technology the way it's supposed to be used. We use food the way they're supposed to be used. We're not trying to get rich off of folks just out here, like, literally cannot afford to drink water. Is good for them out here.
So, but to me, that's not demolishing Christianity. That's just constructing a reality that operates off of humanism and operates off of the idea of flourishing. That's not necessary, because I think you might say you have to demolish Christianity to do that, but it's still not the same enterprise. What does it look like to actually demolish Christianity before you get to what you would reconstruct in its place? What does it look like to demolish Christianity?
Oh, to go through it? Oh, there's going to be a whole lot of hell. And that could be like the internal things, because I've gone through all the steps. Like, I've gone through all this, the grief, Kubler-Ross. With it, I just know it exists, and it's easy for me to speak to people where I live. Like, outside of that, though, I know that getting people to see those things through the same color lens that I'm wearing, they would rip my head off, a la They Live in that epic ass fight scene where Roddy Piper is trying to put the glasses on Buddy, and they legit throwing hands and kicking ass because he does not want to see the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this whole time I've been trying to figure out how much distance there is between where you are and where I am, and I still don't actually know.
Right, and so we go back to my name. We go back to my name, and one day it's gonna hit. Like, it's hitting folks in layers. Like, you got it really quick because your bar style influenced me to think on that frequency. And then I heard Prince say "fill in the blank" about a certain conversation to answer, Buddy, in the comments. But I heard Prince say "fill in the blank," and instantly I saw the spelling in my mind.
Is your name Phil?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought it was even a more delicious pun if your name was actually Phil. But either way.
Nah.
Okay. Hey, on that note, I'm gonna let you talk about, but hey, definitely go ahead, finish. Go ahead, say what you're about to say.
Oh, only thing is, I appreciate what you do. I appreciate the knowing of you throughout the different phases, even though, like, even me finding you on Facebook was just a random, I wonder what this guy's actually out here like. But much love, much success. Corner the edible if necessary, if you don't want to smoke.
Hold on. You hold on. You broke up again. You broke up again on what you were just saying. All I heard was if you don't want smoke.
Yeah, corner the edible. Like, take a little bit off the edible and only give it to yourself in smaller doses over the passage of time, because you taking it all in one gulp. Like, our bodies aren't supposed. The people who can do that, their CPTSD is really deep. And I hate to say that out loud about your peeps, but I know peeps who have CPTSD too. They need it at that intensity. If you're not rocking with what they rocking with, you being able to take it literally as you're going, knowing it's going to kick in at a certain time, like, you'll survive the night. And that's what I mean by just number 3, smoke till you feel something and ride it out. But yeah, appreciate the time, sir.
I might try.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Thanks for that. Yo. Get with you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, I might try micro dosing, but I guess the reason why I've never tried it is I was always afraid the smaller dosages over time is not going to give me the effect that I come to appreciate from it. But either way, the idea of microdosing is going to be something I'll try in the coming weeks. Because, like I said, I don't think I'm going to just leave it alone, because I do enjoy it. I just got to make sure that I'm not doing it in a time when I'm going out and can't control my environment. So I saw a couple super chats up above. Let me run back up and grab these super chats real quick. If you are watching and you want to call in, I do want to talk to some theists. I say the gospel is not good news. And if you want to represent why it actually is, definitely come on and let's talk about it. I'm not going to argue with you, even though we're going to disagree, but we're going to agreeably disagree. But I do want to give you that chance. Thank you, Mythos Boy, for the $6.16 super chat. Someone please explain how the 5%, 10%, 85% thing works, because that is hilarious. At least where it is going in my slightly demented mind. So now, Michael, I want to know where your mind went with it. But the 5%ers actually took that from the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam here in the U.S., which is a Black nationalist spinoff of Islam proper, the Nation of Islam is the ones who originally taught that 85% of the world is blind, 10% is the wealthy and powerful who deceive the 85%, and then the 5% that remains are the poor righteous teachers. The 5%, they don't like calling it a religion, so I'll just call it the 5% ideology. They came along and said, what the 85% is blinding, what the 10% is blinding the 85% to is the fact that the black man is God and the white man is the devil. That was a 5% spin on an already established Nation of Islam teaching. Outside of that, I don't know how they get those numbers and how they substantiate that it's 5, 10, and 85. Saw another super chat here. From It's Sage. It's Sage of. I really do want to know how to say that the way you're saying it. Thank you for the $10 super chat. It's honestly spiritual. It's honestly spiritual improvise, or I guess spiritual improvisation. People often like to be the one who knows more than anybody else. And it's a parroting of people they were taught by, typically within charismatic circles. A lot of what we say and do in the name of religion is somebody updating somebody else's old understanding, or either it's a prophecy or some writing or some, we're just retaking and reshaping old ideas. That's what the New Testament authors did with the Old Testament. That's what the Old Testament authors did with a lot of the writings you find in, the primeval history in Genesis 1 to 11. So what are you going to do? It's the way of the world, it seems. All right, I see James is in the queue. James is coming back. Did you drop something in the private? James is going to educate me on microdosing. Let's talk about it. What's up?
Hey, actually, I was just that was a private chat moment, bro. No, I was still following the feed that was supposed to be private, man. That's private.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry,
no. I'm still following the feed and everything. No, I'm finished with we had a great moment. That was I really appreciate you letting me on again after that, because we had a private moment. It was great. Great transition for us. And being someone who now I feel that my life is as important as every other living organism around me. And as like, I have a book that I've written about sentience and why I think that being able to compare your experience with something else is what makes you sentient. And I do think that exists amongst more than just humans.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I try to extend that empathy and compassion to other things. So I appreciate you letting me back on after I got to do that. And being able to do that in a healthy way, actually, I think it's good for me to be able to experience that and then come back on and say, hey, I did that and it's healthy.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate
it's
you.
Okay.
even in you saying that, it makes me think, like, tell me what you think about this.
Yeah, I love it.
Being the kinds of individuals that we are, the kinds of beings that we are, the species that we are, having had our brains developed to the point where our neurons are firing such that I don't think we're the only thinking species, and I don't think we're the only communicating species, but the degree to which we've been able to communicate, I think it has allowed us to do more with our world than any other species. No other species is using telecommunications. You know what I mean? Like, so there are things that I think, because we have evolved to what we are, I almost hate to say it because it almost sounds like I'm trying to pour some kind of metaphysical telos onto our reality. I'm not. Okay. But I do think having evolved to what we are, maybe we do have, or maybe we could take a certain responsibility over our planet that other animals just cannot. Like, to euthanize an animal that we feel like, it's only going to be suffering for him or her from this point on. We're going to compassionately, let this animal transition and
sure.
And like you said, give ourselves the ability to go through that, to be human. And like you said, compare our experience to the other. Like, do we have a higher audio? How is it now?
Perfect.
Okay. I'm gonna do to you what I was trying to get the last caller not to do. Okay. I'm going to use metaphysical language, but I think you're going to know what I mean when I say this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to work with it.
Do we have a higher calling as this species that has the mental capacity, even the physical capacity that we have to take care of the planet and other species in ways that they cannot do for themselves? Or are we playing into a religious narrative when we think that it's our job to sort of oversee the rest of, the nature?
Are you asking me that since I've deconstructed from being a Christian and a theist, do I now think that we still have stewardship over?
Thank you. Yes.
The earth?
Yes.
Is that still part of our nature? Do we still have that, or is that something that's imposed upon us, or is that something that we still have innately, or is that something that's Darwinian? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah. Anything along those lines will answer what I'm asking.
Okay. Here's what I'd say. I would say psychologically, all of us have a desire for self-preservation. And that extends beyond just ourselves always, because we realize the minute that we're birthed into this earth, we need our mother. Like, the minute we always depend upon an external thing.
No one is an island unto themselves.
For our survival as this experience, whatever this experience is, we need resources. We have to find them. And as a sociological species, we've evolved along this mechanistic ladder that we need each other for this to persist. That's the way we do things. Ants do things another way. They have colonies. Bees have colonies. This is the way we primates do things. We have these little systems that we create that allow us to evolve and extend our empire, whatever it is. I do believe that if you ultimately look at the big picture, we have this one globular blob that is orbiting the sun that we have to use as our resource. It only makes sense to us to preserve that for each other, for us, for each other. Like, this is what we've got. We have not been able to go to another planet. I mean, we have a few people living on the space station, that
International Space Station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've got a few people that are out there that are just outside the Earth that are surviving. They're doing all right. But we have yet to colonize another planet. We have yet to do anything beyond this Earth. It is in our best interest to preserve our environment from the Earth down to the microcosm, down to your social. If you do big into small, all you have to do is realize whatever your social structure is, it goes from the minute to the microscopic outward that far.
Gotcha. One of the things that I often...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes.
One of the things I often talk about, especially in the last 2 chapters of my book, Let There Be Gaslight, I talk about the preservation of self, but then at some point I talk about the preservation of selves. Like and when I say selves, I don't mean every living thing. I just mean the principle of selves, like just the principle of a self needing to be protected. Yes, I want that because I'm a self too. But if I didn't think about the self principle, like I can't just say I'm the only self that matters. I've got to care about selves, which is going to cause me to be compassionate to my pets or compassionate to whatever because of the self principle.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And that is really what most of philosophical naturalism, methodological naturalism leans toward, is that you will philosophically lean toward that because you start to, your mirror neurons and your empathy centers start to see everything else the way that you would experience it.
Yeah.
And so just the fact that you have a, what I want this or that experience, that leans toward the laws of logic, the laws of non-contradiction, the laws of excluded middle. You can lean all of these from just the experience of saying, I would want this rather than this, or this is not this. So just your experience of seeing identity, that there is a one thing and there is another thing. Just that experience of realizing that there is this and not this, that gives all of the reason for the laws of logic and identity is just anything that separates a moment of contradiction. Now all of a sudden you have, I have to separate this or that.
Yeah.
The moment that we had to do that, even if we were bacteria, no matter what it was, if we had to identify this isn't that, or this is this and this is not this, that's where the laws of logic emerge from. It's just differentiation from a thing.
Can I add one thing to that? Because I think it's not just a differentiation of this isn't that. Okay, so these are two separate things. I think also in that, which is important, is the difference between I and thou. This is me and this is not me.
Correct.
And once I add that this is me and this is not me, now that takes the this versus that thing to a whole nother level.
And correct. And that's what Descartes was trying to differentiate between whether he was dreaming or not, was the present. Like he was trying to see whether I am even me. Like, how can I even know I'm me? And that he tried to, digress down from that. But you and I are getting to the, like, where would just the laws of logic emerge from? And I do believe that they come from identifying that you are having an experience versus that something else could be possible. So you have to be able to even have that thought. I'm having a thought.
Yeah.
That makes an identity. There's a thing. Could there be something else other than that thing? To have that first thought, you already know there is another thought that can be had, and there's something else other than that thing.
But now, hold on. Think about what religion does, though, because what religion does is religion gives you a this versus that, a one thing versus another thing concept without actually giving you the first thing. Like you've got when I was a Christian, maybe you've heard this term. Have you ever heard of the creator-creature distinction?
I know that I have, but please just explain.
Yeah. So basically, it's what you just said applied to God being thing one and everything else being thing 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a creator-creature distinction that you can't blur those lines. But what religion does is it gives you the this versus that, but it never actually presents you the first this. This, the first mover, the first thing. It never gives you that. It just tells you to assume that there is a thing that is the first thing and everything else is the other thing.
Right. And what I did was I started to examine, why would I think that that was superior to my first impression that I exist?
Yes.
Like my first thought that maybe I'm thinking. Like, I don't even know if what I'm thinking is correct. Like, I can't trust my senses. I've seen other people's senses fail them. Shit, my grandfather's got poor hearing. Whenever I try to snap in his ear, it sucks, you know, stuff like that. I'm like, man, I can't trust my senses. What am I trying to do? So I'm sitting here considering, like, I'm trusting my senses. Like, all I can get down to is one specific fact, and that's I'm having an experience, right?
Yeah.
And so I start to identify, what is this I thing that I'm talking about, right?
That's the first this.
Yeah. That first this is this I thing I'm talking about. And there have been a lot of philosophers who have tried to get down to the nitty-gritty of what this I thing is, this identity factor. Most contemporary philosophers, from my understanding, and I have to buff up on my reading because I've been doing some other stuff and I haven't been updating my reading much on, and I know Joe Schmidt has come up with some amazing stuff. There have been some philosophers who have come out with some contemporary writing, but as far as I can understand, the modern contemporary consensus on what Descartes was trying to say and what we can garner from it to put into our own lives seems to be that if I am thinking, at the moment I'm thinking, I can know one thing for certain, and that is a thought is being happened, which is an existential thought. And so that means that there is a thought occurring, and that thought has an identity. You can put a marker right there. Like the thought I am thinking right now, that's a thought, that's an identity, that is an individual. And so anytime you're doing that and you're thinking about thinking, you can place a flag post right there and say, that is how I can identify that there is something occurring. Right. Like that's the only time I can do it. And so it's kind of what most modern philosophers kind of think Descartes meant by that existential flag post, is that the one time I know that an identity exists is when I'm thinking. When I'm really thinking, that's the only time I know that I exist. And that's a weird thing to kind of get your mind around, because it holds true to what, like, Sam Harris says in neuroscience and contemporary methodologies of meditation. Things is like, most of the time thoughts are occurring to us and we're not thinking on our own behalf. We're experiencing, we're taking in all our five senses, and we're reacting the way that we would as survival primates, right? So we're taking in all of our senses. We got our sight, sound, hearing, you know, we're reacting. We're moving in accordance to our environment, and that's how we move. But when we stop and we think, that's when we become an identity, or like, you know, and so it takes on this Eastern Orthodox thinking and incorporates this Descartesian reasoning, but it has this modality of being able to ground you in this understanding that your thoughts are not entirely under your control. And as much as you think you're an identity, you're actually a wave function. There are all these waves of sensory things coming in at you all these times.
Even as I'm hearing you speak right now, as I hear you speak right now, I'm like, if you really process what James just said,
yeah,
whether or not you think there's more, like maybe somebody listening to you and they say, okay, maybe at one level you can describe it that way, but then we have spirits and maybe they add a bunch of stuff on top.
Oh, you think I just least conversation?
Yeah, at the very least, I think what people have to do is say, like, at the very least, what James just said, like, that is what's happening. And that is amazing. Like, to think this is what, like I said last night when I
your
fainted,
brain is just mixing all that together and giving you an image of a specific, like, what is happening.
So yesterday I went to that concert and I fainted 3 times. But the day before, Saturday, I took my nephew and my mother and my sister. We went to the Philadelphia Illusion Museum. And so as we're there, walking through all these illusions, and it's just like, you've seen, like, when you're social media, you see the illusions that pop up on your phone. You're like, yo, it looks like it's spinning, but it's really not. Or it looks like it's this color, but that kind of stuff. But as I was going through this museum, I was like, damn. I pulled my mother to the side and I was like, this is like, it's amazing that my brain is lying to me right now. Like, I'm watching this thing that, there were several different exhibits there that our brains were telling us one thing that it wasn't the case. But it's like, all we really are is our perception of the external world. That's all. And we're getting this stimuli in and we're feeding back and we're reacting to it. That's what we are. But that's amazing. And even last night when I fainted the second time, and I'm trying to when I came back to my consciousness, in a short amount of time, I said, damn, this brain malfunctioned just now. You know what I mean? Like, and, like, I didn't give it any
wobble.
Yeah. I didn't give it any more credit than that. Like, it wasn't like, yo, my soul is this or my spirit or God.
Now
it was like,
back to the LSD talk.
I just had to take into account what's really going on in this moment. Here's the most I can say about what's going on. Maybe the people that think we have spirits and souls, and maybe they think I let a demon into my soul when I took the gummy. Like, I don't know what they think, but maybe those people are right? But here's what I know is happening. My brain struggled to process the sensory perception that was coming in, and then even what was going on. I think those THC chemicals, it inhibits parts of your brain so that you're not really the synapses are not firing the way that they otherwise would. The neurons are not making the connections that they otherwise would.
Right.
Your processes. So when you said we're wave functions, we're billions of processes happening at the same time, and then there's some sort of stage in the mind that's presenting this unified theory of what's going on, and we're reacting to that unified theory. Like, that's what we are.
I agree in a way that I couldn't even express it better myself. I do think that it's deterministic, but it also has these.
Hold on. Let me say this. You talk about it's deterministic, and I do want to open the lines. If you're a theist and you want to call and debate the.
I am a determinist based upon what my understanding of.
So check this out.
A book on it. So
check this out. When I got to the concert last night, I was already like I hadn't drunk water like I was supposed to.
Okay.
And so I got there. If you smoke or if you do edibles, at some point your throat gets a little dry and you're having a hard time swallowing. Yeah.
Especially when you're young at it, like you've heard.
You know what I mean? So I didn't hydrate. So I'm feeling already like my throat's getting dry. So I go to the bar and I'm thinking I had 3 10-milligram edibles and I had a glass of wine.
Okay.
So I go to the bar. I'm like, all I need is something to, my throat's getting dry. What are you going to drink? I go to the bar and I'm looking over the menu and I'm seeing all the alcoholic choices than the non-alcoholic choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally stood at the bar for about 10 minutes before I ordered.
Mm-hmm.
and there's other people coming up. The bartender's like, yo, you ready yet? I said, nah, you can wait on them. Nah, you can wait on them. And I stood there deliberating for about 10 minutes. And I literally had the thought, do I have free will in this moment? Or whatever I end up getting at this bar, is it already determined? And what is it determined on? So I'm sitting there deliberating between an alcoholic drink and which alcoholic drink, or no alcohol at all.
I love this question.
You had the 3 edibles, you had the wine. Do you need more alcohol? Now, granted, had I gotten the alcoholic beverage at the club, I think it would have been much worse than it was. Like, I fainted 3 times. That's bad enough.
What?
Had I got alcohol, it would have got worse. But after 10 minutes, the bartender came back and said, are you ready yet? I said, yeah, I think I'm just going to have, I just had some non-alcoholic peach tea kind of a drink. And when I ordered it, he said, and it was loud in this, we said, it's non-alcoholic. I said, huh? He said, this is non-alcoholic. I said, I know. But I said, I'm already lit, so I don't need anything else. But that was after 10 minutes of deliberation.
Okay.
So even when you say like you believe in determinism, even as I was standing there, I said, dang, I had to debate within myself. Like, this feels like free will. This feels like me deliberating and making a choice. So even in your belief in determinism, how do you reconcile me standing at the bar for 10 minutes and like it feels like I decided?
I do not deny the feeling of free will and choice. I don't even think that it makes sense to deny it, because it would be like, so if you look at research done on decision making, which is what I did whenever I was in psychology and mental health care.
You're about to talk about the decision actually being made before we're cognizant of it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So when you started to see that the decision was made before the person actually made the decision, which, should we explain this, since we're talking about it live, a lot of people may not know about this study. But there was a study done where you could distinguish between the seconds before a person knew that they had made the decision. So when they pressed the button, before when the observers who had electrical components attached to their brain and or heads to try to determine when they were going to make a decision, there were indicators that always demonstrated that between 11 to 12 seconds between when the person made the decision to press the button with their right finger or the left finger, the researchers could tell 11 to 12 seconds before they did the action what decision they were going to make, with more than 98% accuracy, I think it was, during the research, but I'd have to look into that. Anyway, it was compelling, and it has influenced a lot of our understanding about deterministic decision making. And it's why AI algorithms are constructed the way that they are today. They base a lot of the way that they try to get you to make decisions, to click on different products and different links and things like that. All of that is based upon this research of you making a decision before you even know you make it.
Everything is subconscious or below the level of consciousness. Before you click, you've already been baited.
We need that for survival. And that's something that I wrote about in my book, Suggestible, is that these are instinctive, primate, tribal things that we have needed for survival for the entirety of our existence. And they persist throughout our societies. And in one way, they're toxic. And in another way, they're very useful and they're very helpful. Like I used to say in these networking meetings that were kind of, I don't know, it was back in the day, but I would just ask somebody, I would say, listen, there's $1 million in that closet over there. Do you want me to go ahead and try to negotiate you over there and try to be nice to you to get you over there? What do you want me to do to get you over there into that closet to get that $1 million? And the person was always like, well, yeah, I want you to be nice to me. I want you to, I'm like, yeah, but what if I don't really know how to be nice to you? You know, I would go through all these scenarios. And basically at the end of the day, I would say, what if the best way for me to get you in that closet was for me to manipulate you in there because you don't want to go in that closet? Would that be the best way for you to get that $1 million? And then they would say, yeah, I'd want you to manipulate me over there. Okay, well, that's weird. You want manipulation? And these are ways of talking about how we don't want to be treated to understand what it is we're talking about. Nobody wants to be manipulated. Nobody wants to be talked down to in these situations. So whenever you're trying to communicate, we have to communicate in ways that we're trying to communicate truth. We're trying to communicate what we're really feeling, what it is we're experiencing. But whenever we use these esoteric, like different languages, all we're doing is eliminating trust. So at the end of the day, we have to get down to what is it we're asking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Good stuff, Jason. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Let me clear the line because I think there's some folks that's trying to get in. If they see us talking and they feel like there's no room for them to jump in. I'm gonna clear the line, but we could talk about this stuff for days, and we probably need to plan something to. And I told you I was going to read the 3 small books that you actually did put out. Can you plug those books real quick? Because I actually do need to read them so we can actually talk about them on the show one day.
Yeah, absolutely. They're short reads. I am investigating my deconstruction from Christianity. I went through several steps, and so I struggled with morals because I do think that it's tough to navigate this world without morals. And so I wrote a moral framework for a fractured age because I do believe that there are objective morals, but I believe they're based on autonomy, self-governance, and consent. And I think that those are the pillars of what any framework of morality consists of. And I think that it's available in any sentient species. I also published Echoes in a Silent Cosmos, where I argue about how fine-tuning and things like that, meaning consciousness, they don't really apply to the framework that is needed for these questions, and they're asking all the wrong questions. And I was also involved in that same journey. And so it's just like a reframing and just saying, hey, if you're looking up at the heavens and wanting answers, there's a better way to pursue it. And then suggestible is the pillar of my work as a faith healer, as a past associate pastor, traveling evangelist, things like that, my smuggling Bibles, all that stuff. But mainly faith healing, doing miracles, and then getting out of that, going into magic, illusion, hypnosis, and then seeing the crossover between the secular applications of the same modalities that are used in evangelical circles and the way they do faith healing and stuff like that. And and then also showing exercises for mindfulness, self-help, and personal growth. So that's,
you got a Facebook page, right? Not Facebook page.
Yes,
you got a, you have a Amazon author page, right?
Yeah.
Can you drop some of those links in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. I will. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I'm out.
Appreciate you, man. We'll talk.
Thank you. Later.
Yep. Get with you. All right. I normally come on at 8 p.m. on Mondays and do an actual show. I'm not going to do an actual show this evening, but I am going to stick around for a while in case anybody does want to call in. So I'm going to stick around probably at least till 7, which is at 6 Eastern now. So if anybody wants to call in and chop it up, typically at this time, say 6:10, so 50 more minutes. Looking for theists to call in, especially Christian theists. Somebody say, yo, do you only pick on Christianity? I would talk to theists of any stripe, but I know the Christian religion. So I feel most qualified to help people see the con of Christianity. I think Islam is a con. I think Mormonism is a con, and Jehovah's Witnesses, I think they're a con. I think every religion is a con. I think somebody way back knew they were lying. And maybe some of those people didn't think they were lying, but I think maybe they thought they were saying what they thought was helpful. They're telling stories about what they believe happened beyond the dome of the sky. And they felt confident and comfortable telling those stories because they assumed we'll never get up there anyway. So no one will ever be able to disprove it. But then time went on and we got beyond the sky dome and we realized that, oh, the earth isn't flat. And we realized that things actually, don't happen the way that the religious architects of our faiths told us. And in that process, you end up saying, okay, well, if that's not true, maybe I need to have a better grid for what I'm going to accept as true, which means you up your epistemology, but then also you look back at your religion and you say, I'm going to help some people out of that. And that's what I'm doing here. But if you still think that your religion holds water, you still think that Christianity or whatever your worldview is, or whatever your religion is defensible, please let me know why I or anybody else should believe it. Why do you believe it? And if the reasons that you believe it, do you think that those should be good enough for someone outside of your mind and outside of your experience? I'm saying the gospel is not good news. The gospel of Jesus Christ it's a silly and sad story when you really think about what's going on. That the God who made you will not introduce himself to you outside of other people coming and telling you about this God. And this God is going to he's going to judge you and eternally hurt you for not believing the thing that people said you should believe about God. But he won't do it to you if you just believe that he sent his son. And you're supposed to take that and call it good news. I think that's silly, even though I spent most of my life going around the world telling people that God's got to punish sin and he's got to do it that way. But he can save you from that thing that he came up with as the punishment for your sin. That's not good news. That is a scam and a scheme. It's silly and it's sad. It's superstitious. And it's time to leave it. But if you disagree, I'm going to post a link in the chat. If you're on YouTube, the link is there in the chat. Hit the StreamYard link from Ichabod. Or if you're on Facebook, scroll up. The top comment is pinned there. You can call in. Or if you're on Instagram, in my bio. Or if you know someone, I've had people who they message their apologist friends or their pastors saying, hey, call in and talk to this guy. Maybe hit somebody up and say, hey, there's a former Christian who's just sitting online right now waiting to talk to theists, and especially Christian theists. Hit somebody up and tell them to tap in. In the meantime, thank you for the $50 super chat. And what kind of dollars are those? The A in front of it is telling me that it's not US dollars. What is it? Primordial Puggles. Thank you for the super chat. Glad I caught a live by Ichabod. Yeah, I'm going to try to do this at least 2 or 3 times a week. So today I'll be on, tomorrow I'll be on, and so Thursday and Friday, just so that you guys know. Thursday, I'm going to be doing Life After Faith with a brother who's been slowly but surely deconstructing and deconverting, and he's finally ready to come out of the closet, and he's going to do it on Ichabod this Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That'll be Thursday. And then Friday, we're going to do our second Sex After Faith. So Thursday is Life After Faith, and Thursday, we're going to be talking about Sex After Faith with a brother who is a married former Christian. we'll be talking about sex after faith. So that's Thursday and Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Looking forward to those. Those will both be live here on Ichabod. So call-ins today, call-ins tomorrow, and then 2 shows, one Thursday and one Friday. Life After Faith and then Sex After Faith. We are waiting for callers, theists especially. Call, tap in. If you just checked in, you're like, yo, you said on Facebook you were going to talk about why last night was the worst, your worst night on earth. You got to rewind back some. I talked about it already. And what I might do is once this is done, I may go in and edit that story out and post it as its own upload so that it won't be in this long stream anymore. Theists, if you're out there, tap in. If you are a Patreon supporter, definitely appreciate you. All these folks whose name are currently on the screen. Thank you guys so much for rocking with Ichabod and giving $5 a month, $10 a month, and those who even give more. Really appreciate you all standing with the channel. If your name is on the screen, your name is in my heart. And I know if you're overseas in England or even further in Australia, it's late, but definitely appreciate y'all rocking. Oh, Australian dollars. Okay, thank you. I just got it. Appreciate that. I've been to Australia once. I was on a one-man missions trip to Australia. Went out there as a Christian. This is in 2020. This was 2014, I think it was. Right as I began my deconstruction, I went on a one-man missions trip to Australia, to Armidale, to work with Aboriginal youth in Australia because they were getting into hip-hop. And there was a Christian youth leader there who flew to America to talk to Christian rappers to recruit some of us to go back to Australia to help the Aboriginal youth there not embrace the deconstructive side of gangster rap, but maybe to embrace the more constructive elements of some conscious styles of rap. And so I was one of the few rappers who he talked to. And then I was the only rapper who went back with him to Australia for a mission trip, stayed out there for 2 weeks, talking to the Aboriginal youth about conscious rap and not gangster rap. So, oh, and I also share this. The best cheeseburger I ever ate in my life was in Australia on the coast. My last day there, we went to the coast of Australia, and I had this burger. Oh my gosh. I would sell everything I have right now just to move there and have that burger again one time. I don't know what they did. Well, I do know they had, I can't even get, oh my gosh. Anyway, if I ever go back to Australia, I will go back to the coast and try to find this burger spot. But shout out to you. Theus, where y'all at? Call in. Let's kick it. You think the gospel of Jesus Christ is good news? I'd like to know why you think that and share with you why I think it's not. And we can agreeably disagree, or maybe you could convince me. I'm sure you think there's no way I would convince you, so you're not in any danger if you call. But if you're out there and you're thinking maybe I should call, this is your chance. The link is in the chat. I'll drop it again. If you're on Facebook, scroll up to the top comment. It's pinned there. If you're on IG, go to my bio. It's in my bio. In the meantime, if there is no theist, should I say if there is not a theist, but if you are an atheist and you want to call in just to tap in real quick, you can do that. I'll take atheists, agnostic callers in the meantime. Or maybe you don't know where you are. Maybe you're like, man, I've been rocking with Jesus all my life, but so much is going on, I begin to question. And you want to call and talk about some questions that you have, we can even take those calls, because I'm going to be on for another 40 minutes. I'm probably going to be on here until 7 o'clock EST, which is 40 minutes from now. So tap in. It's 6:30 here. What are y'all up to? Y'all on your way home from work? If you work from home, throw a 1 in the chat. If you work from home, throw a 1 in the chat. If you commute outside the house to work, throw a 2 in the chat. You work from home, throw a 1 in the chat. If you commute, throw a 2 in the chat. Okay. Hey, Eddie, threw the 1 up there, working from home. If you're self-employed, throw a 3 in the chat. Ambassador LPW, what's up? Throws a 1 in the chat. If you're self-employed, throw a 3 in the chat. 1, you work from home. 2, you commute. 3, you work for yourself, whether that be at home or you're outside. Primordial Puggles said 0, retired or just unemployed. And if you're commuting and you're driving, please don't take your hands or eyes off the wheel to answer this question. Don't even worry about it. Hey, Eddie threw a 3 in the chat. Okay. Work from home and work for yourself. Ambassador LBW, I do day work and freelance as well. Okay. I am semi-retired at this point. I don't count what I'm doing here as part of my job, even though if you see the amount of time I spend on Facebook and on YouTube, you might think, hey, is this a job? Like, I'm not even beat to like turn this into a major stream of income. But I am semi-retired at this point. I don't know when I will fully retire, because I kind of still just like, going out and doing things and getting paid for it still. But I typically work outside the house 1 day a week, and the rest of my time is mine. I do whatever the blank I want to do. And if I don't want to do it, I don't do a damn thing. Theus, where y'all at? We waiting for you to call in to tell us, why is the gospel of Jesus Christ good news? Are you open to being challenged on your belief that this actually is good news? If you are, the link is in the chat. It's also in my bio on Instagram, and on Facebook, it's in the comments, top comment. If you can't find it in the chat, I'm going to drop it again so that men are without excuse. This is your chance. If you've been saying, I'm going to call that brother, I'm going to give that fanatic a piece of my mind, let me show him. This is your chance to show me. All right. I have not watched the news in the last couple of days. Maybe y'all can catch me up. Is the war in Iran over yet? I did hear or see out the corner of my eye when I was getting on that there's some kind of discrepancy happening where the president said he had talks with Iran over the weekend, and Iran is saying no such thing happened. Have they gotten to the bottom of that yet? All right, folks. Now I said I was going to stick around until 7, but if nobody taps in, I think I may just call it a day and hop off of here a half hour early and go do what I can find to do. Because I don't want to hold y'all hostage, and I'm not going to be held hostage by the prospect of somebody might call in. Where's my hover car? Says, thank you for your time and commentary. My pleasure. My pleasure. We all we got. We all we got. There is 1,000,001 other things that I can be doing to bring money in, but I said no. I'm gonna make sure I leave time while I have it. You know what I mean? I don't have to do anything else, but while I have the time, I want to be as helpful as I can be. So that's why I hop on. But we're pushing up on 6:30. If I don't get any calls before 6:30, I am going to let y'all go, and I'm going to go do my thing. Somebody says, I think Trump wants more time for NATO to get involved. Yeah. Is NATO still giving him the finger after he pissed everybody off? Now he wants help. November cannot come soon enough, y'all. It cannot come soon enough. I'm not even saying that I know what's going to happen in November. I'm not saying that I know there's going to be a blue wave. It's almost like we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. Because if there's a blue wave and it looks like all these House seat flips and even the Senate flips, all they're going to do is claim fraud. And now we've got to go through the process of adjudicating these fraud claims. And that could very much be the end of us. So it's almost like I said, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. But I just want to know what it's going to be. Is it going to be, now we got to fight for, the democracy because the votes look like, they went one way? Or do we got to fight for democracy because these people are claiming theft when there was no theft? Fraud when there was no fraud. I just want to know what it's going to be. I don't have hope, but I know it can go either way. And I just want to know which way it's going to go. But that's me. Well, all right. We had a few calls. We had a few fish biting. No necessarily atheists. I'm sorry, no theists necessarily, but people who were sort of still dancing around using the religious language, which I think is problematic for me. I think if you're going to cut ties with the religious systems, if you're going to cut ties with metaphysics, just make a clean break. Don't use the terminology. Don't use the verbiage. Don't leave no quarter for the religious ideas to stick around and muddle up what we actually mean when we talk about the things that we talk about. If you don't mean spirit, stop saying spirit. If you don't mean soul, stop saying soul. If you don't mean God, stop saying God. Lose the verbiage. And I think you'll realize that once you get rid of the supernatural terminology, you start realizing, like I often say, how super nature actually is, to the point where you don't necessarily need the supernatural. You just need to invest in nature's own super qualities. But it's 6:30, so I'm going to let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of yours. I'm going to enjoy the rest of mine. I will be back on tomorrow, but spread the word to theists, to Christians. There's a Christian, a former Christian who wants to talk to you, and we'll see if we can get it going. But love you guys. I'll talk with y'all soon. Till next, peace.